This is Li Yi, a veteran scavenger of the void. Every day, he dons a protective suit and wagers his life to harvest energy stones from a perilous alien dimension. A co-worker noted their current haul was promising. At this rate, the crushing debt his parents left behind would finally be cleared within a single year. They claimed that another 5 years of toil could buy him a modest home. Outwardly, Yi simply nodded, promising to keep grinding toward that distant dream. Internally, he spat at their corporate greed. The moment his shackles were broken, he'd vanish. He had no intention of wasting another second in this hellhole. In his heart, they were the true monsters. The void's radiation offered a 1 in 1,000 chance at awakening, but for most, it was a death sentence. No sane person would step into this nightmare without a reason. Only those pushed to the brink of survival would ever put on these suffocating suits. As they traveled, 2 men nearby whispered about Yi's tragic past. They remembered him as the orphan whose parents were claimed by a horrific accident 3 years ago. His inheritance was stripped away and replaced by a mountain of debt. NG Corporation had heartlessly claimed his parents caused a loss of $1 million. One miner felt a pang of sympathy, but the other sneered. To him there was no room for pity in this world. Being weak was the ultimate sin. He boasted that he'd have fought to the death to make the company pay. A companion joked that perhaps Yi should have taken their lives as payment instead. Yi heard every stinging word, especially the insult to his strength. He figured there was no use seeking revenge against the dead. Only cold cash mattered now. He knew that sometimes, weakness wasn't a choice, it was a byproduct of a broken world. But as the shift began, his philosophical thoughts were cut short. Sudden tremors rocked the ground, sparking panic. One veteran mocked their fear, yet even he admitted that earthquakes were unheard of within these alien dimensions. Another seasoned miner chimed in, his brow furrowing. He had navigated countless zones, but he had never once felt the earth tremble like this before. Fear spread as they whispered of monsters. They debated retreating, especially since this sector was once haunted by the dreaded interdimensional humanoids. These predators were far deadlier than the insect or beast tribes. As they argued to flee, their supervisor barked at them to hold their tongues immediately. He insisted an awakened warrior had purged this area years ago, making humanoids impossible. He threatened them with severe consequences if they dared utter another word. Mid-sentence, a blade erupted through the supervisor's chest. The air turned cold as the miners stared in sheer horror at their fallen leader. Yi stood frozen as the supervisor choked on his own blood. A nightmare had arrived. The humanoid emerged from the shadows, sending the men into a frantic sprint. Blood stained the ground as their ranks were thinned. With the exit 10 kilometers away, Yi realized their chances of escaping this slaughter were nearly zero. A body was hurled into Yi, sending him crashing against a jagged rock. He gasped for air through the agony, only to see the others starting the engine. He screamed for them to wait, but the vehicle roared away, abandoning him. Suddenly, a humanoid leapt onto the roof, its razor-sharp claws shredding the metal like paper. The crew was snatched away as the truck flipped and crashed. The beast swarmed the truck before a sudden, violent explosion engulfed them all. The humanoids shrieked in agony as the flames licked their skin. Seeing this, Yi realized fire was their weakness and reached for a nearby burning branch. A predator lunged from his right side. Lunging for the flaming wood, he brandished the makeshift torch, desperately trying to keep the killing machine at bay. The monster recoiled, its primal instincts flaring. Seeing a glimmer of hope, Yi shouted to the survivors that these demons were absolutely terrified of the flames. A decade ago, the world changed as mysterious gates tore through reality. From those voids, nightmares known as insectoids, beasts, and humanoids flooded our world. Only the awakened, mutated by radiation, held the divine power needed to slay these monsters. These champions didn't just seal the gates, they ushered in a golden age of extracting energy from the very worlds that had tried to destroy them. But these miners were no heroes, they were just ordinary men. For them, every day was a desperate struggle just to keep their heads above water. Against these monsters, they lacked even the strength to flee. Desperation fueled them as they gathered anything flammable to keep the encroaching shadows at bay. Their torches were flickering out, prompting panic. Ye pointed toward the gasoline drums, suggesting they use a wall of fire to seal the entrance until help arrived. Forming a defensive circle, they moved as one, eyes darting toward the darkness. Slowly, they retreated toward the fuel, their only hope for survival. Reaching the drums, Yi roared for them to douse the ground. They kicked the cans over and tossed their torches, igniting a roaring barrier of flame. A torch landed perfectly amidst the fuel, right beneath a humanoid's feet. The creature was instantly transformed into a wailing pillar of fire. An old miner gripped Yi's hand. His eyes filled with gratitude. He vowed that if Yi ever needed a favor, his life was now at his disposal. Amidst the chaos, Yi spotted something strange, a colossal, ancient statue. A nearby worker whispered that they had unearthed a mysterious relic deep within the mine. It seemed Supervisor Wong intended to smuggle it onto the black market. Yi marveled at the artifact, noting it looked far older than anything he'd ever seen. Suddenly, the radio crackled to life with a desperate voice. They screamed that Sector 7 was under siege by humanoids and demanded an immediate extraction. Command confirmed the distress signal, but the news was grim. Rescue teams were mobilizing, but it would take at least 2 hours to reach their position. They begged for speed, but static swallowed their cries as the connection died. Panic set in, their suits only held 90 minutes of life, sustaining power. Some wept for the families they might never see again. One man cursed his luck, regretting they hadn't tried to break out in the truck instead. Dying while waiting felt like a coward's end. Yi glanced at his wrist display, his heart sinking as the low-power warning flashed in ominous red. A colleague stood up, his voice trembling with a dark resolve. Since the power wouldn't last, he declared that someone would have to make the ultimate sacrifice. Targeting the weak and abandoned, he argued that Ye was a debt-ridden ghost with no ties. Declaring his life a tragedy of endless suffering, they demanded he surrender his precious suit battery. A heavy plank shattered against him as they taunted him. Ye collapsed, trembling in absolute agony. He was choked while being told radiation was a gift. It was cold cruelty disguised as help. If he awakened, he would be their pawn. Gasping for air, Ye crawled for his discarded mask. If I wake up, you die first, he hissed. They just laughed at his pathetic delusions. They ripped away his power source and left. A coward pushed his comrades forward as sacrifices. Pursued by bullies, the desperate man leaped onto a truck. We go down together, he screamed. The engine roared, toppling the heavy statue. Chaos erupted as they scrambled to stop his run. Crossing the fire barrier meant total doom. Terror struck as the wall broke, letting a humanoid inside. Ye lay broken on the floor. The statue fell before him, its cold gaze mocking his state. It was no illusion. The stone face twisted into a truly sinister and haunting grin. The chilling sight echoed a legendary dungeon, but then a massive humanoid entity crushed it underfoot. The beast reached down. Why me? Ye cried out as a massive hand pierced his chest. Memories flashed back the cold stares of relatives who abandoned him after his parents' tragic deaths. Thrown into the streets, he was crushed by heavy debts that were never his to carry. Powerful men threatened him into silence when he dared to question the truth behind the accident. Corruption buried his pleas. He did not want their blood money. He demanded the hidden truth. The response was cold. His parents were blamed for everything, branded as criminals by the corporation. Instead of help, they hit him with a $1 million lawsuit. Ye clenched his fists in rage. A boot slammed into his face. They told him he should have taken the pittance. His obsession with the truth cost him everything. Now, the debt collector had come for him. 30,000 in interest alone every month. The principal was a mountain he could never climb. Pay up by the 15th or face the consequences. There was no escape from this hell. With mock pity, they offered a way out. Become an interdimensional miner and gamble with death. Back in the present, Ye knew he was finished. Whether by debt or monsters, death awaited. But if he was going down, he would make them bleed. He refused to die quietly. He sank his teeth into the beast with fury. Thrown aside, the stench filled his senses. A shadow loomed, calling his struggle pathetic. A final, meaningless act before the light faded away. At least I fought, he wheezed. Nearby, the beast pulverized the stone statue like brittle glass. The statue offered a pact. Give up your body to be saved. Ye's answer was rejection. He chose death over becoming a puppet for a freak. His pride remained completely unbroken. The statue laughed at his defiance. Then, the shadow system roared to life, shocking the humanoid. The shadow forced the titan to its knees. Possessing Ye, the statue began its brutal retribution. A colossal shadow entity crushed the foe. Ye was now encased in terrifying, ebony soul armor. Another beast roared in challenge. Annoyed by the noise, the shadow swallowed it into the abyss. He slashed through the next target, despising the stench. Then, he turned to the human filth. Returning control, the statue watched. The bullies fell to their knees, begging Ye for mercy. They claimed they were just survivors. They even took credit for his awakening. Truly pathetic. So? I should be grateful? He asked, his voice dripping with deadly and sharp sarcasm. They suggested a clean slate. Just walk away and forget the blood. A lie for cowards. I will help you leave, he whispered, ripping away their masks. They collapsed, coughing blood. He moved to the others. While some begged, Ye unexpectedly handed them the needed batteries. The shadow warned that pity leads to the grave. Ye told the entity to stop preaching. Stepping outside, he faced the horde. A single punch sent the humanoid flying into oblivion. Bewilderment washed over the main character as his power surged. Yet he realized brute force alone wouldn't breach their defenses. He craved a weapon. Answering his desire, abyssal shadows coalesced within his palm. A wicked dagger manifested from the darkness. Testing its edge, a single slash proved its lethality. Even the hybrids could be felled by this shadowy blade. Could this be his awakening? Suddenly, a humanoid struck his back. Reacting with predatory instinct, he whirled and decapitated the beast, finally savoring the thrill of striking back. Crimson stained the earth. Breathing raggedly, Ye stood amidst the corpses of the fallen abnormalities. The system chimed evolution successful. He had ascended to E rank. Soon after, Ye found himself confined to a hospital bed under the watchful eyes of medical staff. His vitals were perfect, and injuries non-existent. The mystery remained. Why did he still linger in the depths of unconsciousness? The doctor noted this was standard for ascenders. Ye had completely exhausted his stamina, and his body was now struggling to calibrate to its newfound power. Intrigued by his status, the nurse's curiosity piqued. She couldn't help but wonder about the true extent of his level. Sensing her excitement, the doctor kept his composure. They would uncover the truth upon his awakening. For now, duty called them to the next patient. She lingered, captivated by his striking features. Meanwhile, a shadow entity grumbled in frustration, trapped within the vessel of a mere E-rank human. Given his own majestic essence, he expected an S-rank host. Even B-rank was a disappointment. Yet, here he was, tethered to a lowly E-rank shell. Still, the boy was a curiosity. Despite his rank, he had manifested the shadow system's true form on his very first attempt. It was a pity his frail body couldn't withstand even a fraction of the shadow's true might. Awakening, Ye questioned the entity's presence. The shadow scoffed, introducing himself as the ancient supreme entropy extinguisher, sovereign ruler of the otherworld realms. He demanded the human's body as a vessel to reclaim his stolen throne. Rewards were promised, but Ye merely dismissed it all as delusional rambling. Ye refused to surrender his flesh to a creature resembling a cockroach. Insulted, the shadow roared, insisting that serving as a host was Ye's only purpose. Why was he chosen? Ye pondered if he was being haunted by some malevolent, parasitic spirit. Or perhaps his looks were simply too irresistible. Noticing the entity's instability, Ye decided that caution was his best defense. He feared the entity might cross a line he wasn't prepared for. But what truly unnerved him was the absolute mystery of the creature's gender. As Ye's intrusive thoughts spiraled, the shadow grew livid. He demanded to know what kind of idiocy was polluting the human's mind. The shadow cursed his luck. Had the situation not been so dire, he would have preferred an old stray dog over this E-rank trash. An ultimatum was issued: reach D rank within 3 days, or face total erasure. The clock was officially ticking. From a hospital bed to a swirling portal, Ye was dazed. The shadow declared they had entered the insect nest, a brutal trial for his race. Inside the otherworld gate, the shadow explained the skyborn tradition. Only one attempt was allowed per lifetime, but possessing Ye had reset the counter. A shielded armor beetle emerged. Ye recognized the monster immediately, learning that the shadow system was drawing directly from his own memories. Adaptation was mandatory. Ye contemplated the mechanics of the mysterious shadow system. Drawing his dagger, he struck with blinding speed. The beetle hissed in fury as Ye pinpointed its fatal blind spot. Leaping high, he aimed for its back. As he landed, the beast retaliated instantly. Ye drove his blade into the earth to maintain his balance. Its carapace was unnervingly solid. The shadow mocked him, questioning if he possessed anything beyond mindless brute strength. Ye snapped back, telling the entity to stay out of his business. The shadow warned that no mercy would be shown when he failed. Did this monster have no weakness? A powerful blast sent Ye crashing into a wall. On his shoulder he noticed a strange viscous fluid. Get up, the shadow commanded. Seeing the beetle's own blood on his arm, a grim smile spread across Ye's face. He found it. The beetle charged. Activating Shadow Eye. Ye moved with lethal precision, carving through the creature's limbs and stunning the observing shadow. The shadow mocked his progress, asking what a single severed leg would truly accomplish. With its defense broken, the vitals are exposed, Ye countered. He just needed a weapon with more reach and impact. The dagger elongated into a lance. He drove it into the soft abdomen, forcing the beast upward. He knew its belly was its only vulnerability. Exhausted but victorious, he watched as a crystal dropped. The shadow continued to tease him for struggling against a mere E-rank pest. Power surged through him as he absorbed the experience pack. The system notified him, 0.2% progress toward D rank achieved. It was an energy stone, a rare catalyst for evolution. Suddenly, a presence neared, invisible to the naked eye but heavy with killing intent. The shadow urged him to use the Shadow Eye. To activate it, he had to channel his abyssal energy directly into his vision. He obeyed, awakening Shadow Eye level 1. Instantly, a barrage of spikes whistled through the air toward him. He narrowly dodged as the projectiles hissed with corrosive foam. What kind of deadly darts were these? Another attack was already incoming. Moving with fluid grace, he evaded the strikes, though his vision remained frustratingly blurred. Was the skill malfunctioning? The shadow laughed, citing his own weakness as the cause. Determined, Ye began to gather every ounce of his dormant energy. The entity marveled at the E-rank's finesse with shadow manipulation. Finally, the foe appeared. A lethal head harvester known as the Stinger Launcher. 2 E-rank beasts emerged. The shadow noted he had perfectly assimilated the ancient knowledge base. But Ye saw the swarm. Where there is one cockroach, thousands more lurk in the dark. The shadow praised his tactical positioning, preventing the monsters from surrounding him. He glared, twin daggers ready. With a thunderous roar, his aura exploded, commanding the filth to vanish. Already, he had awakened the second form of the Shadow Eye. Incredible for a mere E-rank. At level 2, his pupils became the shadow. Every heartbeat of the enemy was a death knell. E-rank Shadow System user. Skills, Knowledge Base, Shadow Eye level 2, and Shadow Transformation. The bug's movement slowed by half. Glowing purple spots revealed the creature's fatal vulnerabilities. Weaknesses recorded. The shadow confirmed this was the divine grace of the Tier 2 Eye. With his gaze fixed on their weak points, his strikes could now shatter any defense. Shadow Thorn Great Burial. Spikes of darkness erupted from the earth, skewering the bugs instantly. Shadows pierced upward, dealing devastating area damage. The system chimed as his breakthrough progress surged. 0.7% per kill. To level up, he needed to end this massacre quickly. He lunged to finish them all. Slicing through the swarm, the system tracked his rapid evolution. The precision boost was staggering. Suddenly, a green slender nightmare charged at him with lethal speed. His reflexes were sharp, but his brain struggled to keep up. It was a warp sword bug. The shadow watched him morph his dagger into a whip. The beast hissed as darkness coiled. Try leaping now, he growled, beheading it. Another weakness was etched into the system records. A hail of stingers flew. Transforming his shadow, Ye charged, striking precisely at their glowing vitals. Breakthrough at 12.1%. He conjured shadow ropes, dragging the flying predators to earth. You finally look worthy of this power, the shadow teased, despite your ugly combat form. The gift of the Shadow Eye boosted his senses and strength, granting total dominion over darkness. Progress, 34.2%. But this absolute power drained his mental energy like a vacuum. Such was the price of the shadow. Vision blurring, Ye reached his absolute physical limit. Slashed from behind, he refused to fall. Not until he had the power to claim his vengeance. Those NG group bastards covered up his parents' deaths and forced him into the mines. Time was running out, but he pushed forward. Driven by spite, he vowed never to surrender. He would drag them to hell and make them repent at his parents' cold graves. 2 minutes and 15 seconds remained. Breakthrough progress, 95.4%. His hatred fed the shadows. The time is near, the shadow whispered. Finish this now. 7 seconds left. You're prepared to unleash every drop of shadow energy in one final burst. Aren't you afraid of exploding? 3 seconds. To gain strength, he would risk everything. 1 second. 0. He leaped into the sky, his blade erupting with a cataclysmic energy. 1 strike, total annihilation. Promotion to D rank achieved. He collapsed, completely drained of life. You barely made it, little D, the shadow mocked. But among the corpses, treasure gleamed. This nest was once a trial field. That dagger, by human standards, was an A-level relic. This great sword is a dagger? Ye asked. Were the Shadow's people all mountain-sized giants? Compared to true shadow energy, these were mere toys. Ye simply stored them for later. Selling it? The shadow asked. Only D-rankers could sell gear. First stop. The registration hall. E-rank? Ye stared at the display, unable to believe his eyes. Decent physical stats, but no detectable energy. To the world, he was just a commoner. A small race for being a minor. The shadow system is truly peerless, Ye noted sarcastically. Humans are blind to shadow energy, the shadow replied. Being undetectable was actually a blessing. Perfect for the black market. The shadow felt at home as they entered the lawless district. Thugs mocked his age. Get lost, kid, one growled, shoving him. Ye's eyes went cold. The merchant sneered, doubting a mere brat could afford anything in his shop. But our hero just scoffed, finding the entire inventory worthless. He unsheathed his heavy blade, demanding an appraisal that would leave them speechless. Suddenly, a woman appeared clinging to a man's arm, complaining about the shop's stench. This was the D-rank Zhou Ting and his girlfriend, Su Qing. Sensing a bigger whale, the shopkeeper abandoned our hero to grovel before the young master Zhou. Zhou bragged about a sword he looted from an otherworld gate, planning to sell it for a new car. It was a Winhouse sword, a prized D-rank weapon known for its lethal attack boost. Our hero froze as he recognized Su Qing, the woman who abandoned him the moment his parents died. Su played the victim, lying to Zhou that our hero was just some obsessed fan from her social media. Disgusted, Zhou barked at our protagonist, calling him trash and pointing him toward the nearest scrapyard. Get lost before the dump closes, he roared, swinging his new sword in a vicious sneak attack. Clang! Zhou's blade shattered upon impact. Our hero laughed, proving whose weapon was the actual piece of junk. Su gasped in horror while Zhou, blinded by rage, threw a desperate punch at our hero's face. To our hero, Zhou moved like a snail. He casually stepped aside, making the D-rank look like a fool. As he danced around the strikes, he realized these attacks were pathetic compared to the insectoid nest. Zhou's ego bruised. How could a lowly miner humiliate a D-rank hunter like this? Shadows began to dance at our hero's feet. A dark whip manifested, coiling tightly around Zhou's desperate fist. Shouldn't a dog stay on its leash? Our hero mocked, before slamming the arrogant hunter into the dirt. Su shrieked in worry, but our protagonist only laughed at the pathetic sight of Zhou crawling. Suddenly, Boss Wang entered with his guards. As a D-rank supervisor, his presence demanded immediate silence. Wang scolded Zhou for the chaos, but Su quickly pointed the finger at the filthy miner for the damage. Wang's eyes narrowed. Our hero stood his ground, explaining that he only acted in self-defense against Zhou's incompetence. The supervisor paused, whispering to himself that our hero's heavy sword radiated an ominous extraordinary power. Seeing an opportunity, Wang offered to mediate, secretly plotting to strip our hero of his mysterious weapon. He reached for the blade and nearly buckled. The sword weighed over 100 pounds of solid lethality. Who is this kid? Wang wondered, suspecting an advanced ranker was hiding behind a miner's mask. Our hero didn't bite, questioning why the black market suddenly cared about IDs and item origins. Wang backed off with a fake smile, while our hero claimed he simply found the sword while digging. Believing the lie, Wang dismissed him as a lucky commoner. He claimed the sword was basic and lacked attributes. He appraised the heavy blade at a pittance, while valuing Zhou's broken scrap at over 2 million. Life is hard for a miner, Wang sighed, acting like a saint while setting a deadly trap. He demanded our hero pay Zhou 2 million in compensation, offering to help cover the imaginary difference. It was a blatant scam, but Wang smiled, calling it his good deed for the day. Su Qing sneered, knowing a miner could never pay. She only cared about that promised car. Zhou whispered a dark plan to her, selling our hero's organs would easily fetch the 2 million they needed. Our hero saw right through their vile scheme. He smirked, warning them that they were the ones with the problem. Suddenly, a suffocating shadow aura exploded from his body as Wang's guards rushed in to kill. Wang retreated to safety, but his confidence vanished when a guard was sent flying through the air. Watch the merchandise, Wang yelled, but it was too late. Our hero's kicks were delivering absolute destruction. Another guard crashed into Zhou, who realized that mining had turned our hero into a human tank. Your turn, our hero whispered. Su Qing watched in disbelief as her loser ex-boyfriend dominated the room. Zhou blustered about his D-rank status, but was silenced by a slap that nearly turned his lights out. Infuriated, Zhou launched a desperate energy beam, but our hero blocked the lethal strike with his bare palm. The attack dissipated against an invisible wall of pure shadow, leaving Zhou trembling in absolute terror. I'll teach you the manners your father clearly forgot, our hero growled, stepping toward the cowering brat. Su Qing watched her D-rank champion crumble before a mere minor. Zhou begged for mercy, trapped in a suffocating web of shadows. Are you a C rank, or B rank, he stammered. Our hero simply showed his E-rank guild card with a cold smile. Zhou tried to threaten him with the Black Panther gang, but our hero didn't blink. He unleashed a barrage of punches, leaving Su Qing screaming as her world fell apart. The blow sent Ting crashing into the wall, spitting blood. Ye's eyes blazed. He loathed loan sharks. When Wang ambushed, Ye effortlessly repelled him like trash. Ting desperately offered 100,000 yen to settle. Ye sneered, asking if his face was only worth 2,000 per humiliating slap. Ting begged, offering 1 million to end the beating. Ye grinned coldly. If these sharks loved interest, he'd ensure they paid in kind. Those 50 slaps were just the interest, Ye declared. Now, for the principal. Terrified, Ting flashed a 5 million yen black card, pleading for mercy. Ye recognized the NG Group VIP card. Rage simmered as he realized these very thugs were the ones enslaving innocent people in the mines. With a dark plan forming, Ye released Ting. It was time to lure the true serpent out from its hole. Seizing the card, Ye noted the Black Panther gang's years of extortion. This wasn't theft, it was returning stolen wealth to its rightful master. As Chin helped Ting up, he spat in fury. She had claimed their attacker was just some lowly, insignificant E-rank miner. Chin pleaded ignorance of his power, but Ting struck her. He blamed her minor label for making him carelessly drop his guard. His money wouldn't be taken so easily. Ting dialed a number. On the other end, a blood-soaked man answered amidst his victim's screams. Ting begged his brother, Panther, for vengeance. He lied that a thief stole a legendary sword intended for him and threatened their gang. Panther demanded the target's information. Meanwhile, his ruthless lackeys reported they had successfully secured their latest illicit prize. When asked about the captives, Panther's voice turned icy. Are there people there? He mocked, viewing his victims as nothing but trash. They replied no before butchering the remains. Panther claimed his new prey while a dark entry appeared in the Shadow Knowledge base. The NG Group, a monstrous multinational titan. They were the hidden hands responsible for the brutal murder of Ye's parents. At the guild, an official approached. Ye calmly stated his business. He sought a mission suited for an E-rank advanced miner. Laughter erupted. You're in the wrong place. They mocked his suicide mission, as this zone only handled D-rank tasks and higher. Others jeered at the E-rank's audacity. Parasites like you only survive by clinging to the heels of real hunters, they spat cruelly. They ordered Ye outside to wait for scraps, hoping some team might take pity on a lowly E-rank. Stay with the garbage where you belong, they sneered. Ye fumed, his 5 million yen windfall already devoured by those relentless blood-sucking loan sharks. Seeking a new task, Ye felt the air grow heavy. An overwhelming pressure flooded the room. A B-rank powerhouse had just arrived. The B-rank's suffocating aura paralyzed the crowd. A woman emerged, silver hair shimmering, feline ears twitching amidst a swirling, crimson aura. While others whispered in awe, Ye observed silently. She looked like a sheltered noblewoman. Her aura was vast, yet lacked any killing intent. Was she masking her true nature? Ye noted the strange contradiction between her flashy presence and her oddly restrained power. A masked official announced a D-rank mission at the Beast Abyss. They needed a skilled miner. Was anyone brave enough to step forward? The crowd trembled, yet Ye stood unfazed. While others buckled under the pressure, this lowly E-rank took a defiant step toward the mission. Ye realized he alone stood tall. Even the B-rank woman watched him, intrigued that a mere miner remained completely unaffected by her aura. The staff recognized her as Chin of Longman 3rd Street. He quickly offered her a selection of veteran D-rank hunters for hire. She refused them all, pointing directly at Ye. The staff gasped. Bypassing the registration queue was a blatant violation of guild protocol. I am the rule, she declared with a piercing glare. Faced with her absolute authority, the staff had no choice but to submit. As Ye followed her, the staff stood stunned. It was the first time the legendary Chin had ever personally scouted a companion. Hours later, a hulking horned beast emerged. With the bard's flute echoing, the perfectly balanced party prepared to unleash their coordinated assault. They were a solid team, but Ye wasn't impressed. To him, these lumbering minotaurs were nothing more than a minor nuisance. Their teamwork was flawless under the B-rank's lead. However, Ye's shadow eye revealed a chilling truth: monsters below were far stronger than D-rank. He wondered how everyone else could be so blind to the danger. His shadow eye had evolved. With perception transcending these trash hunters, Ye realized the B-rank girl must surely sense the lurking threat. Was she hiding her awareness? Just then, the bard located the starlight crystal vein they had been searching for deep within. She ordered Ye deeper into the abyss. He couldn't believe her recklessness. She was dragging a mere miner into certain death. The ominous pressure intensified. Did she truly not care if her teammates, or even her miner, perished in this dark place? Did she trust her B-rank power that much? Suddenly the earth shattered, and both Ye and Chin plummeted into a dark abyss. They landed hard. Ahead, a D-rank beastman lurked. Ye watched intently as the silver-haired woman finally drew her blade to strike. Her crimson aura flared, yet she froze. Unexpectedly, she retreated behind Ye, claiming she'd cover him while he led the attack. Blushing and trembling, the B-rank powerhouse urged him forward. Ye was speechless. She expected an E-rank miner to fight her battles. Ye had no reason to play hero for miners' wages. But when she offered 1 million yen, his motivation suddenly sparked to life. For the money's sake, I'll manage, Ye muttered. Drawing his hidden dagger, the E-rank miner prepared to unleash his true power. 3 minotaurs strike simultaneously. While one stalls Ye, the others charge Chin. Ye panics. His $1 million investment is in danger. Suddenly, a crimson aura erupts, blasting the beast's back. Ye stares in shock. He had completely underestimated the girl's hidden potential. A beast leaps for her throat. Ye lunges, his blade carving through the air. You really have a face monsters hate, he teases. But Chin is already fleeing. Ye cleaves through the horde, shouting that she is a hopeless case. Lungs burning, Chin thinks she has escaped. Little does she know, a massive shadow looms directly behind her. She turns, trembling. The beast shows no fear. It raises a heavy wooden club, ready to crush her. Why is she not fighting back? Suddenly, her bracelet glows, casting a brilliant protective shield around her. The shockwave repels the beast, but the artifact shatters. Ye realizes that was not her power, it was just a disposable charm. Are you a non-combat awakened? He asks. Blushing, she pleads for him to keep her secret. That will cost you extra, Ye smirks. More monsters swarm. He activates Shadow Eye level 2 to investigate. A hidden silhouette flickers. Someone is masking their presence, that is why he did not sense them before. Strange mana fluctuations are driving the Minotaurs wild. Chin screams for help as another beast closes in. He decapitates the monster, but he is cornered. He cannot use wide-range skills without accidentally vaporizing Chin. The pressure is mounting. To finish this, Ye decides on a risky gamble. He will leave Chin exposed. Your shields are gone and you cannot fight. He warns coldly. Try not to get yourself killed yet. She is mortified by his bluntness. Suddenly, a killer emerges from the darkness, unsheathing a jagged blade. The assassin seethes. Monsters almost ruined his hunt. He seeks vengeance against Chin's father by ending her life. The blade descends. But in a flash, Ye severs the man's arm before Chin even realizes she was targeted. The attacker is a bard. Ye explains he has been using sonic waves to manipulate the Minotaurs. It is Luden. He snarls in disgrace, furious that a mere low ranker has interrupted his scheme. This is not over. Luden bellows. He drains the Minotaur's life force, summoning a colossal misty red demon. The sheer pressure reveals a class rank. This is the true terrifying potential of a control type. Chin gasps as Luden consumes his subordinates. Suddenly, the ground cracks, spilling molten lava. He is evolving into a class lava Minotaur. Ye cannot believe a D rank could ascend so rapidly. The overwhelming aura makes Ye feel small. A class juggernaut now towers over the two D rank hunters. The monster roars, lashing out. Ye conjures a barrier, but the following explosion is absolutely devastating. Class power is terrifying. His shield melts instantly, leaving Ye with painful blistering burns. As the axe swings, Ye grabs Chin, narrowly pulling her away. The blade whistles past her nose. Suddenly, the beast freezes. Shadow ropes bind its limbs. Are you a control type too? Chin asks, wide-eyed. It won't hold him long, Ye shouts. Run! Get as far into the labyrinth as you can. She hesitates, realizing he is not following. I am buying you time, he roars as she looks back in fear. Just hide, I will find you soon. To him she is still a $1 million investment worth protecting. Luden, now a molten titan, bellows for his prey. Ye flickers into existence behind him. Luden swings his massive axe. Take a guess, Ye mocks. He vanishes again, reappearing to slice deep into the titan's leg. The skin is impenetrable. Ye's blade fails to bite. Luden laughs at the futile effort of a weakling. He counterpunches with explosive force. Ye struggles as the floor turns into a lake of fire. Ye baits him toward an open clearing. Luden charges forward, mocking Ye for only knowing how to run. Ye activates Shadow Eye. Every monster has a flaw, no matter the rank. Luden vows to kill Ye first. Die! Luden screams. But Ye has finally spotted it, the one fatal chink in the monster's armor. Luden scoffs. I see your plan. He unleashes a wave of power that leaves Ye completely overwhelmed. Is this truly just C rank? Trapped against a wall, Ye watches the beast charge with murderous intent. Ye stands his ground, waiting for the perfect window. Luden laughs at the puny daggers in the boy's hands. Scrap metal cannot hurt me. Luden roars. As the axe falls, Ye lunges, aiming straight for the weak point. He targets the back, but it erupts in light. 2,000 degrees of searing heat catch Ye off guard. You have a death wish, Luden howls. Ye's shadow shifts, morphing from a lethal chain blade into a tightening rope. He struck at the fatal flaw. His shadow lunged, only to dissolve into nothing. Irritation flared within him while Luden mocked his pathetic struggle. Surrender now, Luden sneered, dismissing his efforts. Ye realized with dread that his shadow reserves were draining at a lethal rate. His condition was critical. Should he summon Qingtian? No. He swore that even death was better than losing control of his body again. Besides, slaying a C-rank hunter promised a massive experience windfall. This was a golden opportunity he refused to let slip away. Lunging for the blind spot, Ye pushed beyond his limits. Despite the searing heat, his dagger's edge finally bit into the flaming core. Luden roared in agony. His health plummeted, triggering a lethal berserk state. Suddenly, his power and speed surged by 200%. Bewildered by the sudden power spike, Ye couldn't react. A massive shockwave sent him crashing violently into the stone wall. Luden hissed, enraged that a mere brat had pushed him this far. Seeing Ye scorched and broken, he prepared the final blow. Suddenly, a strange sensation washed over Ye. His shadow energy surged with newfound intensity. Qingtian revealed this power was always dormant within. His vessel was simply too weak to harness it, until this inferno tempered his very soul. You've hit the jackpot, kid, he chuckled. A superior form of shadow energy emerged, rapidly sealing Ye's grievous wounds. This was more than mere healing. Sensing a chilling, sinister aura radiating from Ye, Luden realized he had to strike immediately. Ye danced back, evading the strike effortlessly. Luden froze in shock. How could an E-rank keep pace with his massive speed boost? Desperate, he flooded the chamber with molten lava to erase any escape. Yet, amidst the rising tide of fire, Ye remained motionless. Luden expected ashes, but Ye stood tall within the magma. His body was perfectly shielded by a dense layer of shadow enhancement. If the basic stage was this potent, the peak would be godlike. Is that all, Boiler Boy? Ye mocked. The heat's a bit low. Luden's jaw dropped. You had your fun swinging that blade, Ye growled. Now, it's my turn to return the favor. Ye vanished. With shadow enhancement boosting his core stats by 200%, he became a blur of lethal precision and power. Staring at his severed limb, Luden screamed curses. He lunged to grab Ye, but his remaining hand crumbled under a single dagger strike. Crafting a hand from pure magma, Luden gloated. As long as this lava flows, I am immortal. Your efforts are futile. Ye narrowed his eyes. Immortal? He countered. Your energy signature says otherwise. You're fading fast, old man. Then try me. Luden challenged. Ye obliged, systematically severing his limbs as Luden desperately tried to prove his supposed immortality. The onslaught was relentless. Suddenly, the lava failed to reform. Impossible. Luden gasped. Your tank is empty, Ye replied coldly. Ye demanded his surrender. Panicking, Luden tried to negotiate, claiming they had no personal grudge worth dying over. True, Ye mused, but I'm a professional. And Qin's father is paying a premium for her safety. I'll double it. 5 million. Luden barked. But Ye saw through the lie. He knew a backstab was the only reward waiting. Trusting a snake like Luden would only lead to a knife in the dark. You're a traitor, Ye spat, and I don't negotiate with scum. A better plan formed. Why take a bribe when he could deliver this traitor directly to Qin Shaowang? The boss would pay handsomely for his daughter's captor. More importantly, the Dragon Gate leader would owe Ye a massive personal debt. That favor was priceless. Luden paled. Knowing Qin Shaowang's torture awaited him and the organization would surely purge his entire bloodline. Cornered, Luden pulled out a glowing crystal. Qing Tian gasped in shock. It was a legendary prison gate fragment. If that shatters, the portal collapses, Qing warned. We'll be entombed in this beast realm until the end of time. You forced my hand. Luden shrieked. But a streak of shadow cut through the air. It was Ye, moving with blinding speed. Snatching the fragment, Ye buried his blade into the fatal point. Luden's screams echoed as his body was shredded into ribbons. The core's essence flowed into Ye, triggering a massive evolution. Shadow Sense Level 2 ascended into its ultimate form as the earth groaned. The realm is destabilizing. Qing shouted. Without the boss's energy, the abyss began to crumble, but they escaped just in time. Survivors trembled, recounting the nightmare they barely survived. Qin gazed at Ye in awe. He was clearly no mere E-rank hunter. Join us, she pleaded. My father would reward a warrior of your caliber with immense wealth and power. Ye declined, preferring his freedom. He requested her silence regarding his true power. Respecting his wish, she handed over his hard-earned reward. Before departing, he had one question. Does your organization have a habit of liberating rare weapons like mine? Examining the blade, she promised a fair appraisal at the city. You'll receive every cent it's worth, she assured. Ye nodded in agreement. Her expertise was evident. If she was honest, he'd found a perfect buyer, and if she lowballed him, he'd still walk away rich. With $1 million already in pocket, he was winning regardless. Back home, he studied the mysterious prison gate fragment with growing intrigue. Gather enough of these, Qing Tian whispered, and S-rank will be just the beginning. The promise of ultimate power burned in Ye's eyes. The fragment's return signaled a dark awakening. Qing knew his enemies were still lurking. To recover, this boy would be his ultimate key. He foresaw a day when the boy would face horrors beyond human comprehension. He wondered if the time had come to break the silence. Ultimately, he chose silence. Fear would only break the boy now. It was better to wait until his power truly awakened. The NG Group's E-rank rate zone remained under strict lockdown after the tragedy. High on a jagged cliff, Ye surveyed the restricted wasteland. A B-rank and 3 C-rank elites stood guard. Such overwhelming force for a lowly zone? Something felt dangerously out of place. His current power was insufficient to pierce the veil of lies. Qin Tian scoffed, questioning why he'd waste time on such a pathetic rift. My parents' blood is on this ground, he muttered. Back then, NG Group tried to bury their deaths with a measly compensation. They pressured him to sign the accident waiver for blood money. When he hesitated, an arrogant suit sneered, asking if the price wasn't high enough. I want the truth, he spat back. Yet the man dismissed him, coldly insisting it was a mere mining accident that claimed them. Impossible. Both parents were C-rank awakened. Driven by a desperate hope that they still breathed, Ye demanded to enter the zone. A brute seized him, his grip like iron. Kid, anything can happen in a rift. Even C-ranks become monster fodder. An E-rank zone shouldn't house such lethal threats. Ye countered. The brute tightened his grip on Ye's collar, warning him to stay silent. Ye insisted they were strong enough to survive. The guard's face twisted in rage, accusing the boy of simply hunting for a bigger payout. A fist was launched, but a voice cut through the air. Stop. It was the NG chairman, A-rank powerhouse Ning Donghao. Ning rebuked his men for their lack of empathy. Offering a fake smile, he handed Ye more cash to ease his current burden. Ye rejected the blood money, demanding only the truth. Ning promised a full investigation and a clear explanation. It was all a lie. Ye waited for justice, but the NG group struck back, framing his parents as thieves and drowning the boy in millions of debt. Qin Tian sighed. In every world, the weak are merely stepping stones for those who hold true power. Collect the gate fragments. Once your power eclipses theirs, the truth will bow to your will. It will be effortless. Ye remained quiet, his resentment boiling. He blamed Qin Tian's chaotic shadow energy for his humiliating E-rank classification. You want my body, yet you help me grow? Ye questioned the shadow's intent. Are you a godsend or a demon? If this spirit was truly insane, the promise of S-rank power was pure madness. Cease your useless thoughts. Qin Tian commanded. I wouldn't waste my time if you lack potential, the spirit hissed. Ye realized the shadow was reading his every irritant thought. A total lunatic. Suddenly, a notification pinged a D-rank mission. At the chemical zone, a suit-clad man barked, "Why the hell are you late?" Ye offered a vague excuse, hiding his exhaustion from the previous rift. Amidst the crowd, a familiar face appeared, the kind-hearted Uncle Hao. Uncle Hao beamed. 5 years had passed since the tragedy. However, the other mercenaries sneered, clearly expecting someone far more formidable. "We waited for a deadbeat trash collector?" The hostile trio Guda, Gu-er, and Gusan glared with undisguised contempt. These C-rank mercenaries were hired for brute force. The coordinator explained that since it was a mining task, high-tier elites weren't necessary. "Quit yapping," Gu-er roared. "Just give us the details of the mission so we can get moving already." The mission was simple. Enter the D-rank rift. Locate the ice crystal ore, and extract 60 kilograms of pure samples. C ranks for a D-rank zone? Something was fishy. Among them stood a mysterious, robed figure known only as Hai-Si. Another C-rank mercenary. Ye sensed their thickening bloodlust. These weren't hunters, they were predators with dark, twisted souls. He sensed the hidden C-rank signature already lurking within the rift. Somewhere, a cold gaze watched the entrance through a screen. "The toys are all in the box," he chuckled. "Time to hunt." It was Blood Leopard, the ruthless second in command. Inside the rift, Uncle Hao offered a protective suit. Ye declined, his eyes glowing with a new, awakened resolve. "I've got this," Ye said. Gusan mocked the ascended miner, while Gu-er sneered about Ye being the trash heap king. Uncle Hao whispered to ignore them, but Ye was already scanning the area. The foliage was unnaturally thick, perfect for an ambush. Malice dripped from the shadows. A flicker of movement darted past. The stalker was losing patience, ready to strike at any second. Will it stay hidden, or does it have a darker plan? Pick up the pace. Gusan barked, as Uncle Hao hurried along. The perfect chance to vanish and watch the predators. Ye gripped Uncle Hao's arm. "Hold on tight, we're moving." "That trash is fast," Guda yelled. Gu-er shrugged. "Let them go. Those two are already as good as dead." Perched high above, a red-haired hunter watched the Gu brothers like insects. Did they even realize they were being hunted? Licking his lips, he savored the thrill. If every target was this oblivious, his twisted game would be far too dull. "Something's wrong," Guda muttered, cold sweat on his brow. "Ever since we entered, I felt eyes boring into my soul." "Stop being a coward," Gu-er snapped. "We're C ranks in a D rank zone. We are the apex predators here." "I've got a bad feeling," Gusan shivered. "Let's turn back." Gu-er opened his mouth to scold him, but a scream erupted as Gusan was shredded from the shadows. He pleaded with Blood Leopard for a parley. But the hunter just sneered. "Your gang kept barking at the black leopards, until I finally lost my patience." Diplomacy was dead. With a flick of his wrist, razor wire shredded San's flesh, while the others watched in paralyzed horror. Blinded by fury, Da charged into the fray. But mid-strike, red string snared his fist, and coiled around him like a spider's web. The wires bit deep, carving through bone and sinew. Terror took hold, and he fled, as Blood Leopard descended into a killing frenzy. Nothing tastes better than the scent of fear. Meanwhile, Ye and Hao took a breather. "Why'd you leave those other awakened men behind?" Ye narrowed his eyes. "Did you cross the wrong faction recently?" Hao shook his head. "I'm a nobody. Why would I provoke anyone?" "This mission is a death trap," Ye warned. "Someone wants us all buried in this hell." Pure dread washed over Hao at those words. "If you're hiding something, speak now." Suddenly, a man burst out, screaming at Ye for keeping silent about the anomalies he had sensed. He blamed Ye for his brother's slaughter. But Ye just shrugged. "You weren't useless. At least you flushed out the mastermind." The insult burned. "What did you say?" Before he could swing, crimson strings lashed out and ensnared him in a lethal grip. Blood Leopard smiled. "You're surprisingly interesting for a brat." Ye's ultimate shadow eye fled to life, as Hao trembled at the monster's presence. He begged for mercy. "We're just kids. We never did anything to cross you before." But mercy was off the table. "A few drinks made your tongue loose, boy. You boasted about being the one who escaped me." Blood Leopard could sense every fatal weakness. This C-rank used high-frequency vibrating silk to shred anything within a 10-meter radius. Howell promised silence until death. But Blood Leopard knew only one absolute truth. "Watch out." Ye screamed, but he was too slow. A sharp crack, and Hao's shoulder exploded. "Dead men tell no tales," the killer sneered. Ye cursed and launched a desperate counterattack. His blades were parried effortlessly. "Not bad for a kid," Blood Leopard mused. "So you're the one who slaughtered that punk Zhou Ting. But this is where your luck ends." Razor claws swept toward him. Ye barely leaped clear as death grazed his skin. "If you're so eager to die, I'll assist." In response, Ye unleashed his shadow enhancement to bolster his flagging strength. The onslaught was relentless. Ye struggled to breathe, and one slip was all it took. A heavy blow sent him crashing into a tree. Hao rushed to his side. "Stay back." Ye barked. Getting close was suicide against this monster. He needed a new plan, and fast. "Neither of you is leaving alive." Blood Leopard hissed. "We'll see who falls first." Ye's ultimate shadow eye pulsed with dark energy. He struck with a shadow-morphed dagger. But every move was countered. "Is that all?" The killer taunted. Ye only grinned. The real show was starting. Blood Leopard chuckled at the boy's arsenal. "Impressive tricks for a brat. But you're still just a pathetic E-rank." Suddenly, Gusan erupted from the earth. His serpentine form coiled tight around the killer. "So you finally crawled out of your hole," Blood Leopard spat. But Gusan's gamble was a fatal error. Close range was the leopard's hunting ground. Red strings tightened around Gusan's throat, then everything was sliced apart. Ye watched in horror as a C rank was dismantled. He was outclassed. Survival was the only priority he had to get Hao out now. But the predator wasn't letting his prey go. Under the cover of night, Ye patched Hao's wounds. I'll find a way out for you. Just hold on. Leave me, Ye. I'm just dead weight. Ye looked at him firmly. What did you find? Why is he hunting you so obsessively? The answer chilled him. I found out the truth. About how your parents died. Ye's gaze turned cold and razor sharp. Ye gripped his shoulder. Tell me everything. Hao admitted. It was Kuishi Hao. There was something twisted about that man. Before the accident, my father grew suspicious. He believed Kuishi Hao was running illegal experiments, deep within the shadows of the mine. Days later, the disaster struck. In the aftermath, your parents were framed, for a crime they never committed, stealing ore. Why did you stay silent? Hao looked away in shame. I was just a kid. I was terrified of what they'd do to me. He needed the job to support his family. Ye's heart burned with disappointment. You let them rot. While my parents suffered that injustice, guilt became a poison. After too many drinks, he let the secret slip. To the wrong person, sealing his own fate. Suddenly, the air whistled with killing intent. Blood Leopard was back. Before Ye could react, red strings cocooned Hao's entire body. I'm sorry, Ye. With a final, choked apology, blood erupted in a crimson spray. Blood Leopard paused, narrowing his eyes at the boy. The son of those two C ranks. He lunged forward, eager to finish the bloodline. But Ye wouldn't go down without a fight. A jagged slash tore through Ye's defense, watching your own flesh fly apart. Doesn't it feel exhilarating? The madman laughed. Your silk isn't invincible. Ye manifested a massive shadow greatsword. He saw it the split second when the killer's defense vanished. The strings snapped. Stunned, Blood Leopard unleashed a tidal wave of razor silk at the boy. The brat was trading blood for blood. But Ye's legs gave out. He had finally reached his absolute limit. Blood Leopard saw through the facade. A bluff, I'll admit. You actually gave me a scare for a moment. He lashed out one last time. If you weren't a lowly E rank, I might be dead. He laughed as Ye glared with undying hatred. Seeing that defiant look on an ant's face only fueled his sadistic hunger. He leaned in to whisper a soul-crushing secret. Wu was only half right. Those parents didn't perish in a mining accident, they died screaming by his very own hands. He relished the boy's murderous scowl. It was the same look of despair his father wore when he slaughtered his mother. His father was forced to watch as Blood Leopard butchered her. Suddenly the villain felt his crimson threads burning away. Confusion flickered in his eyes. A devastating aura erupted from Ye's body as Qintian materialized right behind him. Through clenched teeth, Ye vowed to slaughter the monster. Just as Qintian predicted, raw hatred ignited the boy's shadow energy. Internal shadow energy surged, triggering a system correction. Leveling complete. C-rank shadow enhancement evolved into Tier 2 power. A new legendary skill awakened Shadow Jaunt. He could now slip into the abyss and emerge from any connected shadow instantly. Blood Leopard recoiled in disbelief as the boy's wound sealed shut. He was a healer too? Still, the monster wasn't intimidated. To him, prey was most entertaining when struggling on the brink of death. Ye simply responded with a chilling scoff. Beneath the shadows, you are the only prey. Blood Leopard faltered as the kid's overwhelming strength suddenly exploded. Speed like a phantom. In a heartbeat, Ye vanished and reappeared behind him. But the predator wasn't finished yet. A swarm of flying daggers filled the air, seemingly useless until Ye activated Shadow Jaunt to shatter the distance. He unleashed Flying Thunderstep, a lethal fusion of teleportation and projectiles. The sudden assault left the villain completely defenseless. Blood Leopard laughed, trusting his iron defense against toy knives. But Ye's silhouette blurred with godlike speed once more. I am not trying to break your shield. Ye knew the beast could not balance absolute offense and defense simultaneously. The rate he manipulated those blood threads was tied to his reaction time. That was his fatal hidden flaw. Ye's blades danced, carving through flesh until Blood Leopard spat crimson. He could not accept defeat at the hands of a miner. Ye demanded the truth about that fateful night in the mines. Trembling, the defeated monster prepared to spill everything. Before he could speak, Ye's dagger flashed, severing his arm. A horrific scream erupted as the boy's patience evaporated. Blood Leopard hissed a final challenge, pinning the entire bloody massacre on a man named Qin Shihao. Ye's father had stumbled upon a forbidden experiment. To bury the truth, the family was liquidated under a fake accident. Rage blazed in Ye's eyes. Knowing the enemy was the powerful NG group, the villain expected the boy to cower. He begged for his life, but his plea was cut short. In one swift motion, Ye's blade claimed his head. Every soul involved would pay in blood. That night, under a cold downpour, Ye stood before the NG group headquarters. He spotted Shihao approaching his vehicle. Sensing the boy's murderous intent, Qintian warned him against a suicidal confrontation. Even as a newly minted C rank, he could not ignore the suffocating pressure of an A rank powerhouse nearby. Inside that car sat the NG group chairman and the elite A rank master, Ningdong Hao. A den of lions. Ye trailed them silently, promising his mentor he would not strike yet. He needed more than just a reckless death. He did not fully trust a dying man's confession. He had to confirm if Shihao acted alone or on corporate orders. If the entire NG group was complicit, even an A rank would not stop him. A debt of blood must be repaid. They pulled into a warehouse belonging to the Black Panther gang. Why was Shihao here in the dead of night? A mysterious figure in a black trench coat commanded his men to handle the experimental machinery with absolute care. Shihao questioned if the old miner Wu had been silenced. The man replied that Blood Leopard had vanished entirely. The dimensional gate used for the hit had closed. Whether the assassin lived or died mattered little to them now. Shi Hao fumed, wondering how a C rank could fail. The trench-coated man surmised their target had been grossly underestimated. 4 elite C ranks were already dead. Shi Hao demanded the equipment be moved before any more complications arose. The experiment was nearing its climax. Failure was not an option. Coldly, the man asked if the payment was ready. As the deal was struck, Ye listened from the shadows. The truth was undeniable. Shi Hao was the monster behind it. Suddenly, the trench-coated man sensed a presence. He incinerated a crate with a roar, but Ye had already vanished. Shi Hao trembled, asking what happened. The man doubted his senses, yet that sharp killing intent had been unmistakably real. That was too close. Hiding behind a shipping container, Ye realized his current C-rank power was still not enough. The next day, Ye arrived at the Qin Group, a massive enterprise on Longmen 3rd Street. He stood before the spire. Qin Tian knew this was not a social visit. He questioned what the boy hoped to find at such an early hour. He came for the third fragment and a fair appraisal for his blade. A receptionist offered help, but things turned sour when a haughty woman and her green-haired companion appeared. They sneered at him, labeling him a poor miner unfit to speak the young miss's name. Ye recognized Su Qing, whose insults grew sharper by the second. Su barked that a lowlife did not qualify as a guest, calling him less than the Qin family's dog. Ye's hope in the Qin name withered as their arrogance flared. He turned to leave, but Su was not finished. At his command, guards lunged. In a blur of shadow jaunt, the men collapsed instantly. Before anyone could blink, Ye's hand was crushed around Su's jaw. The woman shrieked for him to let go, threatening the Qin family's wrath, but Ye's eyes remained cold. Ye flung Su toward the girl, sending them tumbling. Out of respect for Xian, Ye relented, but Su's fury burned bright. Lusting for blood, Su lunged. As their killing intent collided, a mysterious figure cut between them, holding both warriors at bay with ease. Midst the command to halt, a silver-haired beauty appeared, rebuking Ye for his audacity to incite chaos within the Qin group's territory. Su barked that Ye was a dead man for insulting the Qin family. He gloated, certain his cousin's wrath would be absolute. Su whined that being kicked out was too merciful, demanding broken limbs instead. But suddenly, the guard seized Su himself. Confused, he questioned his own cousin's loyalty. The woman pleaded, claiming the lowly miner dared speak her name, and Su was merely defending her. Xian coldly revealed that Ye was her guest, making his casual address perfectly acceptable. She commanded the immediate expulsion of the arrogant guards and that petty employee, blacklisting them from the industry forever. The woman begged young Master Qin to intervene, reminding him of her devotion. Xian cut her off, establishing a strict hierarchy. Warning him against ever exploiting the Qin name again, she turned her frost into a warm greeting for Ye, inviting him inside. She offered a sincere apology for her relative's shameful behavior. Ye shrugged it off, noting every family has its black sheep. As she led him away, an urgent messenger arrived. The president demanded her presence immediately, cutting their meeting short. She asked for a brief moment of patience. Ye nodded, content to wait in the quiet luxury of the room. Though she sensed something was wrong, the order was absolute. Once she vanished, the doors locked, and a heavy presence emerged from the shadows. A dignified elder approached, questioning Ye's identity. Activating his shadow eye, Ye realized he was facing a formidable A-rank powerhouse. The man possessed the Eye of Deterrence, a skill meant to paralyze the soul with terror and stop all movement instantly. Facing an A rank with dual high-tier skills, Ye played the role of an innocent youth, asking if there was a misunderstanding. Inside, he recoiled from the mental pressure. To his horror, even his shadow enhancement failed to shield his mind from the assault. The elder smirked, intrigued that his mental cage failed to break the boy's spirit. Clearly, this was no ordinary child. He unleashed a sudden bolt of lightning. When Ye stood his ground, the man realized the boy possessed at least B-rank durability. He demanded to know the truth behind Ye's infiltration. But before the interrogation could peak, a familiar, furious voice broke the tension. Xian roared her father's name, Qin Shaosheng. She marched in, twisting his ear for luring her away just to bully her friend. Dragged away like a naughty child, the powerful president begged for his dignity. Xian simply ordered him to never harass Ye again. Ye realized he was looking at the legendary ruler of Longmen 3rd Street. Xian bowed, deeply embarrassed by her father's overprotective antics. She sighed, explaining that her father saw every man near her as a potential swindler or scoundrel. Ye chuckled, understanding a father's protective instinct. Xian was stunned by his insight, though the truth was far simpler. Her father was pressed against the glass, muttering his suspicions aloud. Irritated, Xian screamed for him to beat it. Once peace returned, Xian presented a 5 million credit card. The great sword's unique materials had fetched a staggering price. The client was waiting for a final appraisal. Ye accepted, then revealed his true purpose for visiting her today. He produced a mysterious shard, asking where more of these dimensional fragments could be found. She noted these relics were once common, but a shadow buyer had recently been sweeping them off the market in bulk. With supply dry, she suggested the exclusive Longmen 3rd Street auction. Ye sensed a connection to the mysterious Qi Hao. A spy reported Ye's profile to the president. On paper, he was a mere 20-year-old, E-rank weakling. Since no mana signature was detected, he remained classified as a non-combatant, a simple miner in the system's eyes. Yet, his rapid ascent from E to C rank suggested a master of deception. Suddenly, a high-priority call interrupted his thoughts. He greeted Old Huo with a smirk. The elder wasted no time, asking about the extraordinary swords Xian had acquired. Huo's voice turned desperate, demanding every single blade available. The president's suspicion grew. What could make that old fox so frantic? Huo hinted the material was revolutionary, capable of evolving their entire military force into an unstoppable legion. Between Ye's hidden power and these god-tier weapons, Xiao Sheng realized he was dealing with an enigma beyond his control. Ye entered the auction house, eyes scanning the treasures. He hoped the rumors of the fragments were true. He brushed past a familiar woman clinging to a wealthy heir. It was the same gold digger from the Qin group. She lied through her teeth, claiming she quit her job just to escape a persistent stalker. Her new catch promised protection. While she basked in his wealth, young Master Zhou's eyes were fixed on Ye. He wondered why the blood leopard was late. Spotting Yi, she scoffed at a miner's presence. Ye smirked, asking if she'd already forgotten the sting of his last slap. Zhou stepped in, warning Ye to stay back, only to collide with a towering figure in a dark trench coat. Bao spat that Zhou Ting shamed the Black Panther name. Trembling, Ting bowed to his superior. Bao then glared at Ye, warning that striking a subordinate meant war with the entire gang. Heavy fingers crushed Ye's shoulder as Bao exerted overwhelming pressure, demanding he sink to his knees and beg for mercy. Ye stood firm, the sheer resistance cracking the concrete beneath his feet. He wouldn't yield. Bao's eyes widened, shocked by the boy's monstrous strength. Ting sneered at the boy's arrogance, but Xian's voice cut through the tension. She reminded the gang they were standing on Dragon Gate territory. Customers are welcome, but she warned that if they sought blood, Dragon Gate would gladly provide it. Bao backed down, leading his men toward the auction. After checking on Ye, Xian moved on. Meanwhile, Bao demanded to know everything about the brat. How did a nobody end up crossing the Black Panthers? Ting claimed Ye stole the legendary tribute sword and even dared to boast about annihilating their entire organization single-handedly. Stunned, Bao hoisted Ting by his collar, demanding the truth. Suddenly, the powerful Shi Hao appeared, questioning the source of the commotion. They eyed Ye, realizing he was a target for Blood Leopard. Shi Hao frowned, baffled that the boy was still breathing. Could this brat have slain Blood Leopard? Ting dismissed the thought, calling him mere trash. To him, matching the second in command was impossible. Ye's eyes met Shi Hao's. The executive remembered a weak, timid child from the past. Why was he here now? Ye simply asked why Shi Hao had arrived. She explained her father requested a meeting. Ye felt a flicker of dread, wondering if another brutal confrontation was imminent. She promised her presence would shield him. Shi Hao stepped forward, his voice cold, claiming he never expected to cross paths with them here. Ye scoffed, calling himself a lowly miner paying off debts. He brushed past, refusing to mingle with an elite executive from the prestigious NG group. Shi Hao claimed his parents' fate was decided by superiors. He feigned helplessness, insisting his influence within the company was practically non-existent. Ye saw through the cowardly excuses. He looked Shi Hao in the eyes, stating that the truth remained buried deep within his own conscience. He delivered a chilling warning. The truth always surfaces, and those who walk a wicked path eventually face divine retribution. Bao roared, eager to teach the brat a lesson, but Shi Hao held him back. This was Xiao Shang's domain. They couldn't spill blood here. The boy knew too much. An assassin would be needed to silence him permanently. Bao nodded, promising to make the arrangements immediately. Xian led Ye to her father. Just then, the host's voice echoed, announcing the start of the prestigious auction. Xian left them to talk privately. Ye thanked her, though he remained wary. What did the powerful president want with him? Xiao Shang didn't waste time. He demanded to know if Ye possessed more weapons like the divine artifact he sold through Xian. Ye realized the president's desperation. It was clear the man hungered for the legendary relics of the Entropic clan. Caution was vital. Revealing too many secrets was dangerous. Ye lied, claiming he found the items by luck and had only 2 left. Shang offered 40 million, totaling 45 million. Ye knew 15 million per blade was a fair price for any ordinary warrior. But for elites, these weapons saved lives. Shang frowned, sensing a trap. Ye smiled, demanding 25 million for each masterpiece. The audacity of the brat annoyed Shang. Just as the tension peaked, Xian burst in, announcing the target item had finally arrived. Xian gave her father a warning look. Forced to comply, Shang transferred 70 million instantly. Xian then gestured toward Ye's coveted prize. Shang cursed the boy silently. The bidding opened at 7 million, quickly climbing to 10. Suddenly, number 6 jumped to 15 million. The fragment was real. With 70 million in his coffers, Ye was confident he could crush the competition and claim his prize. He bid 30 million, hoping to intimidate the room, though the massive sum stung. The host called out for any higher challengers. Bao spotted Ye, confused by his interest in the relic. The hammer was about to fall, until Shi Hao bid 50 million. Shi Hao threw a mocking glance at Ye, challenging his wallet. Without hesitation, Ye countered with 60 million. Shang warned that the relic wasn't worth the cost. He urged Ye not to waste his hard-earned millions on a useless fragment. Xian knew Shi Hao was just inflating the price. Usually, 10 million was the limit, yet Ye refused to back down from the fight. Ye pondered aloud which titan held more wealth, the Qin group or the NG group. A battle of ultimate financial power was brewing. Shang boasted that his Qin group reigned supreme, but he saw no reason to assist. Suddenly, Shi Hao escalated to 70 million. Ye revealed the sword, reminding Shang of their deal. Despite the fixed price for the relics, Ye's current funds were still lacking. Ye told the president not to worry. He guaranteed he could supply more weapons to cover whatever astronomical debt he might accrue. Shang suspected hidden reserves of weapons. Meanwhile, the host began the final countdown for the 70 million bid. Xian pinched her father's ear, scolding his greed. She vowed to cover Ye's costs herself. The host shouted 70 million going twice. Xian urged Ye to act before the hammer fell. Inside, Ye was stunned by the casual extravagance of the ultra-wealthy elite. 100 million was mere pocket change here. Ye bid 100 million, but Shi Hao instantly countered with 200 million. Shi Hao needed it for his secret project. Ye slammed down 300 million. The stakes exploded until they hit 500 million. The audience whispered that they were insane. Was this simple fragment truly worth a king's ransom? Or was it pure madness? A clash of pride, not treasure. Bao fumed as the brat shamelessly sabotaged their every move. Shi Hao sneered at the amateur's status before dropping a 1 billion bid. Silence gripped the hall. Participant number 2 had ignited a war. Yi sensed no reckless impulse behind that massive gamble. Xiao Shang warned him that this path demanded absolute certainty. Could he truly produce weapons of such legendary value? Xian cut in, vowing to cover the cost, urging him to strike now. He bid 2 billion. With a mocking smirk towards Shi Hao, he watched as Bao's mind raced. Where did a kid get such wealth? Shi Hao's rage reached a breaking point. He was certain Shi Hao Shang was backing the brat. No child could possess 2 billion alone. 2 billion going thrice. Sold. The host's voice echoed as participant 9 claimed the mysterious fragment, securing a stunning victory. Xian's eyes sparked with joy for Yi. When questioned about her excitement, she confessed her love for watching arrogant villains crumble. Xiao Shang coughed, noting Yi's expensive games. Even with the discount, 70 more high-grade weapons were still required. Could he manifest that many blades? Yi calmly explained that scarcity dictates value. The old standards no longer applied to his craft. With a sharp snap of his fingers, over 100 legendary swords manifested before their shocked eyes. This treasure hoard easily eclipsed the 2 billion fee. Xiaoshang was amused by the boy's raw power and untamed spirit. A future under this kid seemed tempting. Xian leaned in, telling Yi to call her whenever things got this exciting again. Xiaoshang frowned. This wild wolf might lure his precious daughter away. He quickly insisted she return home with him immediately. He directed Yi to claim his hard-won prize. Yi offered thanks, but the president paused to deliver a final, chilling warning. Never underestimate the NG group's reach. They were too massive to fight alone. Sometimes, allying with shared interests is the only survival. He left his contact info as an open door. Meanwhile, Bao was already whispering into his phone. He reported that the Qin president had departed, leaving only the boy to retrieve the fragment. The target was finally vulnerable. Shi Hao's voice was cold. They would strike once he cleared the Longman 3rd Street zone. Failure was not an option this time. Bao boasted of 3 C-rank masters at his side. Success was guaranteed. Elsewhere, Yi walked the dim streets, lost in deep thought. Xiaoshang's intel was terrifyingly thorough. That offer of alliance was a trap for his loyalty. Yet the benefits were undeniable. Qingtian scoffed, reminding him Xiao was only an A-rank. With enough fragments, Yi could transcend into a legendary S-rank god. Yi's skeptical glance didn't deter him. He quickly clarified that he truly believed in his master's limitless potential. Yi searched for a quiet place to begin his trial. Qingtian grumbled internally. Annoyed, the boy treated S-rank status like common trash. Only 9 S-ranks existed on Earth. He dared Yi to witness how difficult reaching that peak truly was, but kept his mouth shut. Suddenly, Yi froze. Thick smoke billowed as his apartment was consumed by flames. Residents fled in a panicked frenzy. His phone buzzed with Xian's frantic warning. The Black Panther gang was coming. They're already here, Yi replied coldly. She begged him to hide until reinforcements arrived, but he refused. Ting stepped out, demanding Yi crawl and beg for his life. I might be merciful if you grovel, Ting sneered. Yi looked around, insulted they only sent a few thugs to finish him. He warned them of their impending deaths. Ting laughed, eager to see an E-rank struggle against 3 elite C-rank warriors. They closed in like wolves. Yi mocked them, noting even Blood Leopard failed. The C-ranks hesitated, sensing a hidden, terrifying aura. Ting barked at them to stay focused. He insisted the brat was just a minor with 0 real combat experience. A thug lunged from the shadows, but Yi vanished. He reappeared behind the man, striking his neck. A minor, you say? Confusion turned to terror. Ting panicked, ordering the others to kill him, but Yi's movements were a dance of swift death. He seized Ting's throat, mocking the gangster's fear. He grinned, reminding Ting how much he loved playing with fire. Yi's grip tightened as Ting screamed for mercy. Since he enjoyed the flames so much, Yi hurled him into the inferno. Ting's last threats about President Koi vanished into the heat. Yi watched him burn, promising to send his bosses to hell next. Xian arrived with her guards, frantic with worry. Yi brushed it off, claiming he'd only suffered a few trivial scratches. What now? Since they declared war, Yi would strike back. Xian stood firm, determined to back him to the end. When asked why, she admitted the Black Panther gang had overstepped. Attacking her friend was an unforgivable sin. She called him a rare friend, her face flushing. Seeing him smile fueled her resolve to crush the gang once and for all. She offered him her home as a sanctuary. The mansion was empty, and he was free to choose any room he desired. He picked a door, but she panicked. He walked in anyway, discovering a room overflowing with adorable stuffed animals and pink decor. It suits you, he teased. She worried the heiress of Chincorp would look childish for loving such cute things. He shrugged, seeing it as perfectly normal for a girl. Flustered, she shoved him out of her private sanctuary. Her cheeks burned crimson. He claimed her icy facade was nothing compared to this hidden, adorable side. A sudden, traitorous stomach growl shattered her dignity. He chuckled while she desperately blamed her hunger on his safety. She had sacrificed her appetite for his sake. Softening, he offered emergency rations prepared for the direst of times. Where did he hide it all? The auction weapons, and now his only answer was a mysterious smirk and magic. Before she could ask for a lesson, his eyes sharpened. Danger lingered nearby, and he urged her to flee home. Her father was lurking in the brush, his murderous thoughts leaking out. If she stayed, he would surely be slaughtered. After scolding her father, she vanished. He locked the doors, trusting the safety of the Longmen 3rd Street territory. Jingtian manifested alongside the fragments of the Minotaur and Leopard. The connection between them was finally within reach. These shards held the secrets to the dimensional rifts. Jingtian revealed they were but mere pieces of a whole. They were fragments of the great prison gate. Every rift plaguing their world originated from these shattered remnants. They stepped into the void. Since Jingtian knew so much, Ye questioned the true nature of this alternate dimension. The realm teemed with grotesque insectoids and beastmen. Jingtian confirmed they were all shackled, interdimensional prisoners. This was no simple dimension, it was a massive cosmic dungeon. They emerged into a desert of howling, stinging winds. Shielding his eyes from the grit, he demanded the truth. Jingtian promised answers only through blood and trials. Before them loomed the sky-reaching tower, Jingtian's ultimate masterpiece and Ye's new brutal proving ground. To Ye, the tower looked hideous. It perfectly reflected Jingtian's twisted and eccentric aesthetic sense. He eyed the massive support tubes, wondering if the materials would fetch a fortune from Shaoshang. A windfall awaited if he sold it all. Jingtian stifled his rage at Ye's shameless, greedy internal monologue. If his temper flared, his soul would shatter. As they entered, Ye asked about the trial's deadly contents. 6 floors of hell awaited. Jingtian doubted Ye could even survive the first floor Shadow Wyvern. He stared at the supposed threat, feeling zero pressure. The creature before them looked utterly small and pathetic. It barely reached his knee, looking more like a common gecko. Hitting it felt like bullying. Jingtian smirked. His laughter would be short-lived. As Ye reached out, the creature's aura exploded with a fierce, murderous glow. A shockwave sent him reeling. The system registered a new entry, a record of the interdimensional prison. Diverse races were shackled within these towers. This structure was the grand creation of the master, Jingtian. Each level was guarded by a loyal servant. The rank C Shadow Wyvern unleashed its devastating shadow enhancement. Its speed and power surged by 600%. Instantly, the system identified its singular fatal weakness. A 600% boost? Ye felt like he was using a cheap pirated version of his own skill. Jingtian mocked his weak constitution. Ye leaped into the air, narrowly evading a bone-crushing, lightning-fast strike. Drawing his blades, he sought the beast's blind spots. He unleashed a flurry of strikes against its exposed back. The steel bounced off harmlessly. Its defense was absolute. Jingtian continued to provoke him with relentless taunts. He laughed, calling Ye's attacks mere tickles. Gritting his teeth, Ye activated shadow enhancement once again. Taming the beast was the only path to victory. Ye rained down slashes from every conceivable angle. The creature remained unscathed. Jingtian observed the refined shadow energy and intentionally ramped up the intensity. The servant was ravenous for blood. Jingtian whispered that Ye was nothing more than a delicious snack. The wyvern's eyes turned predatory as it drooled. Ye fled, convinced the beast had been drugged into a frenzy. Driven by pure hunger, the creature saw him as energy. Ye cursed the blatant unfairness of this trial. A fight was one thing, but biting was too much. He launched his ultimate plan, a barrage of chicken legs. The beast's instincts took over as it caught the food. Ye seized the moment to restrain the distracted creature. Taming successful. The first floor was cleared. Jingtian fumed at his servant's pathetic gluttonous display. The system granted Ye authority over the prison gate. He questioned the true power of these ancient fragments. Once energized, each fragment became a portal. Ye could now tear open a path to the prison at will. Such a massive reward on floor 1 made Ye arrogant. He expected the upper floors to be even richer. Seeing his cockiness, Jingtian opened the path to the second floor. He warned that the true suffering started now. Ye sensed a sinister trap. If floor 1 held a rank C beast, the next trial would be legendary. He swore it was safe. But as the door creaked open, Ye froze. Inside lurked the Thunder Serpent King, the Hydro Turtle, and the Lava Minotaur. 3 rank C nightmares in one room. Servants? You call these monsters servants? Before he could blink, the beasts lunged. Ye leaped back, eyes darting for an exit as the air turned lethal. Sealed. The exit was dead. The Serpent King hissed a death sentence. Activating Shadow Step, Ye danced through the carnage, his form glowing with shadow enhancement. Sprinting for his life, he dove through a distant door and slammed it shut. Silence at last. Then the truth hit him. Jingtian had set him up on purpose. You lied. Those aren't just servants? Jingtian just shrugged. I spoke the truth. They are merely household staff. Perhaps your own abilities are just lacking? Oh really? And what does a lava minotaur do? Ye scoffed. He provides the heating, Jingtian replied calmly. And the Thunder Serpent King? He's the generator. Provides all the electricity. And the turtle? He mops the floor, the man reasoned. Ye stared, speechless, before asking about the other worlders. They handle the chores and move things. Ching explained with a smug grin. Ye stood there in pure disbelief. Was this guy a genius, or just insane? Suddenly, the system wailed. An rank A presence was approaching. It was Xiaoshang and Sign. Why had they come to visit him now? Xiaoshang had heard the rumors from Sign. Ye had dismantled the Black Panther gang alone. They have already started targeting you, the president confirmed gravely. I don't wait to be hunted, I strike first. Xiaoshang nodded. The Black Panther gang had provoked Longman 3rd Street for years, yet he had never made a move. Do you know why I stayed my hand? Ye suspected the truth. Balance, he was right. Hai Cheng's peace rested on a razor's edge between 3 giants. City Lord Wu Tian holds the political reins. Ning Donghao rules the economy. And Xiaoshang? He possesses absolute power in both politics and economics. His influence is second only to theirs. He loathes the Black Panther gang for their years of bullying and greed, yet he cannot act freely. As long as they do not go too far, his blade remains sheathed. If he moves, he risks forcing his rivals into a deadly alliance against him. Or worse, he and Ning would both suffer heavy losses, allowing the city lord to swoop in and seize complete control of all Haicheng. So you want the Qing family out of the crossfire? Ye asked. The president grinned. I want you and Sane to form a brand new faction. A new power to deal with the Black Panther gang. Are you trying to start a proxy war? Ye asked. Xiao Shang chuckled. You are quite smart. I will provide the money and the men. You and Sane execute the plan. Our rivals won't dare act rashly against a rogue element like you. Even if you fail, I can mediate and ensure your safety. Ye was truly impressed. The president had devised this entire thorough plan in just one night. If my daughter was not so insistent on helping you, I would not bother, he teased. Then he leaned in. What kind of love potion did you give her? I put up the money and effort, and my daughter might just run off with you. No matter how I look at it, this is a total loss. He debated just sending Sane away and throwing the kid into a hole somewhere. Ye looked on in disgust. Could this man be any more obvious? Sine forced her father to leave and slammed the door. She turned to her partner. What is the next move? We accept missions, he decided. He would sweep every mission from every public dimensional gateway. To find what he needed, he had to conquer every single gateway in Haicheng. Sine handled the logistics. A devilish grin spread across Ye's face as he imagined the fragments. Once secured, it would be the darkest hour for the Black Panthers. The next day, Sine revealed her hand-picked elite. From this moment on, they were the Shadow Gang. And Ye was the chief in command. Greetings, mistress. Greetings, chief. Since Ye took too long to pick a name, she named it after his powers instead. Do you not like it? It is a good name, Ye replied. He scanned the ranks. All rank C, a force this powerful would be a massive threat to anyone in the city. Why the masks? He asked. To keep their identities hidden from enemies, Sine explained. Plus, it looks incredibly cool, does it not? I think the artist was just being lazy, Ye teased. Sine rolled her eyes. Enough. What is our next move? We take their jobs. They would snatch every single contract the Black Panther gang was eyeing. There were so many jobs that Sine doubted they could handle the workload. We only take the valuables, Ye assured her with a wink. As for the rest, I have a much more secret plan in mind. Sometime later, a man endured the wrath of his superiors. Trash, they roared. How did a new group like the Shadow Gang steal our missions? I do not need excuses, Bao screamed. They are looking for trouble. You should have sent our people to take care of them already. We could not, the man cried. Bao grabbed his collar, eyes burning. What do you mean? Every time they move, the Shadow Gang always deploys warriors. They use 5 or 6 rank C members per mission. We do not have the personnel to compete. Bao paused, intrigued by this mysterious new group. Spend the money. Buy the exploration slots and find them, Bao ordered. But the man trembled. The upcoming expedition spots. They are already all taken. By who? Unidentified individuals. Bao was at the height of his fury. He did not care about the cost, he wanted blood. Steal them or pay a high price. Do whatever it takes to get our people in. If you mess up this golden opportunity, you will be responsible. I will hold you responsible for every lost fortune. The man scurried away in terror. Back at the Qing estate, the trap was finally set. Sine hung up the phone with a smirk. The Black Panther gang just paid a king's ransom for those exploration slots we were holding. How were you so certain they would buy them? She asked. Ye smiled. They are greedy. They won't ignore the most profitable opportunity of the season. They were desperate to regain their standing and would pay any amount of gold to secure their interests, falling right into his hands. Ye's grin widened. His plan to drain their resources was working perfectly. He knew their pride would be their ultimate downfall. Cyan remained baffled, so the explanation turned to the dark, unwritten laws governing the mining zones. Greedy overseers and managers operate in the shadows, stockpiling premium ores and forbidden relics. They exploit season-end maintenance windows to smuggle these treasures out for massive black market profits. Historically, the Black Panther Syndicate utilized mercenary guild scouts to pinpoint and mark their plunder targets. Since the cargo is entirely illegal, the victims never dare report the robberies to the authorities. With their old routes severed, they are now forced to pay exorbitant fees for gate exploration slots. Cyan calculated the profits but felt the high-priced gate access was merely pocket change for them. The truth ran deeper. Every journey into those alternate realms served a far greater strategic purpose. Igniting a holographic map, he revealed that every hidden portal in Haicheng had already been tagged. Ye possesses the divine ability to tear open a rift into any dimension at a moment's notice. Their strategy was simple. Shadow every high-paying buyer who entered those unstable gateways. By tracking the Black Panther's marks, they could strike first and annihilate them. It was tactical brilliance. To protect the secret of the rifts, Ye tasked Cyan with recruiting only the most loyal warriors. She insisted on joining the fray, driven by a thirst for justice that earned a warm smile of approval. They would hunt as one. Deep within a rift, a smuggler's truck roared, carrying a king's ransom in loot. The driver boasted of their impending riches to Wang, unaware as the earth itself began to shift. Panic flared in the cabin as jagged stone pillars erupted from the ground like earthen spears. The cargo rattled violently before the truck slammed into a wall. Wang scrambled out, checking their precious haul. A figure in a brown suit emerged, eyes cold. With a wave, he made the razor-sharp stones hover. He warned that their true nightmare was starting before raining down a storm of lethal stone projectiles. The predator wasn't done playing with his food, but Ye suddenly intervened to join the dance. Executing a shadow jaunt, Ye materialized behind him. The man snarled, enraged that a dog dared interfere. Ye lunged forward, declaring that robbery was a crime, but murder was a death sentence. His speed was terrifying. The villain reached for his stone, but Ye was faster, seizing his face with an iron grip. Ye smashed his skull into the stone wall, leaving a crater. The man wheezed threats of gang vengeance. Ye ignored him, summoning the rank D fighters Guyan had prepared. The villain's eyes widened in pure shock. Cyan looked down at the trembling scum, asking if they should deliver the final, fatal blow. Death was far too merciful for the Black Panthers. Ye had a much more agonizing fate in mind. He commanded the survivor to tell Bao that Lei of the Shadow Gang had claimed their lives. Upon seeing his mangled subordinates, Bao exploded in a fit of primal bloodthirsty rage. His secretary reported that while they looked intact, every bone in their bodies had been ground to dust. Recovery would take 6 grueling months, costing no less than 5 million per soldier. That was 30 million for 60 men, but the disaster worsened as news of more failures arrived. Bao roared, demanding how Ye could strike 3 distant locations simultaneously. It defied all logic. The secretary played a hidden recording, revealing the terrifying truth of the battlefield. The footage showed Ye ruthlessly pinning a man down while the air filled with the screams of fallen. Ye stared directly into the hidden lens, his gaze piercing the soul of whoever was watching. He mocked Bao through the screen, calling his men pathetic and daring the boss to face him. Taunting him with the massive medical bills, Ye pushed Bao past the breaking point. The tablet shattered. Bao swore a blood oath of vengeance. Meanwhile, Cyan questioned why they had arrived at a desolate warehouse. Ye had tracked Shiha earlier, discovering the syndicate's main stash right under their noses. He predicted Bao would lead the next charge, leaving their treasure hoard ripe for the taking. A frantic report confirmed the move. Bao and his elite force had deployed to alternate dimension number 3. Ye ordered Cyan to secure the warehouse while he went to bait the beast and buy her time. Though Bao was a formidable rank B powerhouse, Ye declined backup, knowing Duanwu would only slow his lightning-fast maneuvers. He vanished into the rift, appearing just as Bao's men were celebrating their haul. Before the blonde subordinate could finish praising his boss, Ye struck. He materialized from the shadows, his hand clamped around a guard's throat. Ye laughed at their sudden terror, mocking them for being so afraid of a lowly miner. As the hostage begged for his life, Ye's eyes glowed with cold intent, warning that a single twitch would result in a bloody decapitation. Flames erupted from Bao's palm as he declared their mutual demise. His subordinate gazed back in absolute horror. Agonizing screams filled the air as flesh met fire. Suddenly Ye vanished. Quite the benevolent leader. Ye mocked from the shadows. Bao unleashed another inferno, but it only consumed his own men. Ye laughed. Being your lackey really is a high-risk gamble. The survivors begged for restraint, but Bao's eyes burned with madness. He would sacrifice everyone just to see Ye dead. A colossal fire tornado roared forth, hungry for blood. As men fled, Ye stood motionless amidst the cacophony of dying screams. Ye dove behind a massive boulder just as the vortex struck. Come out! Bao roared. A B-rank's power was no joke. Deciding he'd seen enough, Ye slipped away. Hours later, the warehouse erupted with panicked cries and desperate screams of despair. Trembling lackeys explained the nightmare. The Shadow Gang and the Qin family's eldest daughter had finally made their move. 2 B ranks and an army of C ranks had decimated them. Bao's fury boiled before he mercilessly incinerated a begging survivor. The puzzle pieces clicked. Qin was the reason for Ye's strength. If they wanted to play dirty, he would become ruthless. Shi Hao ordered him to stand down, but Bao's soul burned. Hundreds of millions went up in smoke. He wouldn't stop. Shi Hao's voice turned cold, asking if he truly wished to ignite a full-scale catastrophic war against the powerful Qin family. Even with Xiao Wang absent, the Qin family was a sleeping giant. Besides, their secret experiment had reached its climax. Shi Hao commanded him to endure, but Bao snarled back. He would end Ye's life tonight, then vanish from the city. Monstrous silhouettes loomed over Bao as Shi Hao's intent flared. If you are so eager to die, I will silence you. The crushing pressure forced Bao to his knees. Shi Hao warned him not to let petty greed jeopardize their grand design. Once the experiment is complete, the Qin family will be yours to slaughter, Shi Hao promised with a chilling dark smile. Bao offered a forced apology, but resentment simmered. It was easy for Shi Hao to stay calm when his pockets weren't empty. He seethed, believing Shi Hao viewed him as a weakling. Meanwhile, in a sleek red car, Qin marveled at Ye's instincts. Ao urged the driver to hurry, teasing that the young miss missed Ye. She flushed crimson, having mentioned him 24 times. He's just a friend, she protested. Suddenly, a massive red truck roared toward them. Watch out, Ao cried, shielding her. He braced for the bone-shattering impact as the truck hit. A fountain of water erupted, raining down on the wreckage. Guards rushed to the burning car as Ao checked on her. Amidst the smoke, a sinister presence materialized behind them. It was Bao. Ao moved to protect her, but Qin felt a strange, debilitating weakness spreading through her very soul. Her body throbbed with a sickening ache. The water, she gasped. They were drenched from the truck's mysterious tainted fountain. Bao smirked. He never moved without a guarantee. That wasn't water, he laughed. It is the venom of a phantom spider. Dry under umbrellas, Bao's men watched. Even an advanced A rank would be paralyzed for 10 hours by that lethal dose. As guards collapsed, Bao lunged forward. Run! Ao screamed, before Bao's hand crushed his throat like a steel vice. He ignited Ao like a human torch. Loyal dogs always meet a fiery end. Bao sneered as Qin watched in horror. Unaware, Ye was pushing his limits. He moved like a ghost, his blade flickering through the air in a dance. Wood shattered into splinters. Your skills have evolved, she noted. Ye smiled, reaching C rank had unlocked a new level. A phone vibrated. He expected a call from Qin. She had just been teasing him about his newfound extra bit of strength. But as he looked at the screen, his blood turned to ice. The dagger slipped from his hand, clattering loudly. Seeing Bao clutching Qin's hair ignited a black rage. What do you want? Ye hissed. Bao weighed her life's value. The ultimatum was simple. Pay 1 billion in cash for her life, or watch as the girl is tortured slowly. Qin tried to warn him of the trap, but Ye didn't hesitate. I will pay. Just tell me the location. The warehouse, 1 hour. Come alone, Bao barked. If the Qin family hears a word, she dies before you arrive. Qin Tian warned him it was suicide, but Ye wouldn't waver. He refused to abandon a comrade, no matter the cost. Ye arrived at the warehouse, radiating killing intent. You have guts, Bao admitted. Now, give me the 1 billion. A crane groaned to life, hoisting a gagged Qin over the abyss. Ye's heart stopped at the sight of her. Ye unleashed mountains of cash from his storage. After the lackeys confirmed it, Ye demanded her immediate and safe release. Bao laughed, a cold, hollow sound. I only let you live for the money. Now, you will never leave alive. Don't be so naive, Bao sneered. But Ye had anticipated the betrayal. The cash suddenly glowed with a blinding light. An explosion rocked the room as Ye used Shadow Jaunt. Through the smoke, a cold presence materialized right behind Bao. Bao dodged the strike and countered with fire. Ye smirked, didn't they teach you? Never play with fire and dust. A gale swept through as explosions rocked the area. Sen watched in horror as the rope snapped, sending Ye plummeting into the abyss. She braced for the crush of impact, but felt nothing. Opening her eyes, she was safe in his arms, soaring atop the Shadow Wyvern. Bao stared in disbelief at the dragon diving toward the dimensional gate. That brat had far more tricks up his sleeve than he imagined. Bao hungered for the boy's secrets, but his subordinate delivered grim news. Over half their men were already broken and bloodied. If you can still crawl, move, he roared. Refusing to let their prey escape, the gang surged into the alternate dimension after them. Ye reached the sky-piercing tower. Sen panicked as the Black Panther thugs closed in, but Ye simply smiled, telling her it was fine. He'd use these thugs to clear his path. Ordering Sen to hide with the Wyvern, he silenced her doubts with a look of absolute confidence. Qin Tian realized the truth. Ye deliberately left the gate open. He was using the gang as disposable pawns to breach the second level. Ye chuckled. He never promised to clear the level alone. Qin Tian couldn't help but admire the boy's talent for finding perfect loopholes. The stage reward was simply too alluring. An armor capable of negating A-rank strikes was a prize worth any amount of deception. Suddenly, flames erupted. The thugs were cautious, cornering him with nowhere to run. But Ye? He had no intention of running at all. With Sen safe, it was time to let loose. Bao laughed like a maniac, convinced the boy had finally lost his mind to fear. He is alone. Don't be cowards. Bao barked. Once the boy was dead, they would find Sen and finish their business. He promised his men a cruel reward, a chance to taste the eldest miss of the Qin family once the boy was dealt with. Ye admitted he was outnumbered, but strength was another matter. Come out, he whispered, and greet our guests with a warm welcome. Shadows flickered as monstrous eyes ignited. The Lava Minotaur, Thunder Serpent King, and Hydro Turtle emerged from the gloom, ready for slaughter. He thanked the gang for joining his trial. Before they could react, the tide of monsters crashed into the panicked Black Panther members. Bao channeled his rage into a massive fireball, incinerating everything in its path. The inferno roared past the monsters, surging directly toward Ye. Recognizing the ultimate move, Ye triggered Shadow Morph, forging a massive hammer. He needed Bao's hatred to reach its absolute boiling point. He swung, detonating the fireball in a blinding flash. The shockwave was immense. Even a B-rank strike possessed terrifying, destructive power. Embers rained down on the beasts, but Bao did not care. Looking at the exhausted boy, he doubted Ye could survive another onslaught. I only need one, Ye smirked. Look around. Bao froze as he realized the monsters had completely encircled him in the chaos. While Bao hesitated, Ye bid him a mocking farewell, leaving him to play with the beasts. Bao roared, realization dawning he had been tricked again. Get back! Bao screamed, his fists burning through monster flesh. His blood boiled. That brat was playing him for a fool. Veins throbbed in his forehead as he vowed to tear Ye limb from limb. Meanwhile, at the core, Ye demanded the absolute truth. He needed to be sure. Was the armor that could withstand an A-rank attack truly waiting for him at the end? Qin Tian confirmed the reward. Suddenly, the air shifted, and a spectral creature materialized, kneeling before them in a silent, eerie greeting. It was Jiming, the second-level steward. Qin Tian asked Ye to help bury the servant. Ye agreed, but only after the gang was dead. Qin Tian fell silent, gazing at the steward with somber eyes. Then, with a heavy heart, he led Ye toward the legendary armor. Suddenly, Ye stopped. A new presence emerged, the shadow armor. It stood before them, a dark sentinel of overwhelming power. Not as hideous as I thought, Ye noted. Qin Tian sighed, lamenting that the boy was only at Shadow Enhancement Tier 2. Even at Tier 3, claiming A-rank armor was a death sentence. Ye sensed the shift in mood and asked what was wrong. Qin Tian urged him forward, hiding his growing turmoil. Ye noticed the old man was becoming uncharacteristically emotional as they drew near. The armor twitched, then lunged, seizing Ye by the throat. Master, it hissed, after all these centuries, you have finally returned. This was a soul form heteromorph using the B-rank skill, Soul Refinement. Ye gasped for air, struggling to understand the sudden betrayal. The steward's soul lived within the steel. He roared in fury, disgusted that his once exalted master now inhabited such a lowly C-rank vessel. Qin Tian commanded him to release the boy, but the armor bristled. Command me? It spat. What right do you still possess? He had waited in the shadows to prolong his master's life, yet Qintian returned as a mere remnant. He had no choice. He would refine the master's soul to reach tier 3 and seize the armor as his own. Qintian screamed as he began fading. Can you win if I give you control? Ye asked. Qintian was stunned. Wasn't the boy afraid he would seize the body forever? If I could steal your body, I would have done it already. Qintian barked. Amidst the chaos, the two struck a desperate pact. Their souls merged. Ye's eyes ignited with a divine glow as a massive explosion of power blasted the armor back. The armor laughed. A remnant soul only possessed A-rank strength. This struggle was pointless against the true power of the vessel. A-rank is more than enough to crush you, Qintian growled. He entered a parasitic state, pushing the body to its absolute limits. Recognizing the shadow domain, the armor recoiled. Cloaked in black mist, Qintian unleashed his final move. The infinite sword array. Qintian flickered through the shadows, materializing behind the beast for a lethal strike. The enemy stood baffled by the mysterious skill as steel met greatsword. Confidence surged through the traitor. He knew this peak state was fleeting. Amidst the chaos, Qintian called out to Yi, checking his resolve. I'm holding firm, Yi declared. The armored beast sneered, claiming such pathetic strikes couldn't even scratch its hide. Qintian lunged into the air. He had to drag that soul out. The armor caught the blow with its blade, but tension screamed through the air until the sword shattered. Another thunderous punch landed, forcing the armor to guard with its arms. Success was inches away. The soul began to peel from its vessel. Agony fled through the connection. Though Yi claimed he was fine, his body was a ticking bomb of energy that might soon incinerate them. Is that all you've got? The armor taunted, mocking their failed gambit. Qintian clicked his tongue in frustration as a massive fist swung toward him. Impact! Qintian was violently torn from Yi's frame. Surprise flickered in his eyes as he realized he'd walked straight into a trap. He was pinned. I never imagined my own dog would bite me, the armor hissed. Exhilaration twisted its voice as it sensed a long-awaited resurrection finally approaching. Nearby, Yi collapsed to one knee, gasping for breath. Despite his exhaustion, his eyes never left Qintian. Filled with agonizing worry, the monster loomed. Run, Yi! Qintian screamed, but the boy charged instead. It was a reckless, beautiful display of loyalty. Neither wanted the other soul to burn alone. The traitor held back, fearing for his vessel, while Yi was nothing but a mere ant. Yet the boy struck. The armor responded with a devastating blast. Yi spat out a spray of crimson from the impact. You're just a lowly rank C, the armor spat. Stop being an eyesore and crawl away. You always treated me like a slave, Yi rasped, blood coating his teeth. You forced me into hellish battles just to level up for your own gain. I was your puppet then, but I'm my own master now. Whether he lived or died was his choice. With a roar, he charged again. Having previously devoured shadow essence to slay the blood leopard, Yi knew his limit. He was certain this power could finally purge the traitor. How long can your fragile body endure? The armor challenged. Qintian watched in horror. It seemed Yi was willing to let his soul explode for victory. Stay out of it, Yi screamed, igniting his remaining life force. Cracks webbed across his skin as his physical form began to dissolve into the wind. What an adorable suicide attempt. The armor chuckled at the crumbling boy. Even Qingtian's presence began to fade away into the encroaching void. Seize this struggle and become my feast. The armor laughed, devouring his essence, but suddenly, an unnatural darkness swallowed the room. Confusion replaced the armor's triumph. This pitch-black void was the eternal night. Could the eternal domain have truly manifested here? It was impossible. He hadn't even finished refining Qingtian yet. Panic set in as a cold, familiar voice whispered from the darkness behind him. It was Yi, standing tall amidst the shadows. You're the one being erased, he stated. The armor slashed back in a panic, but hit only air. Yi's status flickered. Rank C human, tier 3 shadow enhancement. His skills evolved into the ultimate shadow eye, morph, jaunt, and the legendary shadow domain. Within this domain, he could bend shadow energy to his whim. His powers amplified tenfold while his energy consumption dropped to nearly zero. Every soul slain within these borders fueled his rising darkness. The armor trembled. The boy had reached the terrifying heights of the third tier. Yi understood the source of this divine power, the souls of the fallen. No wonder the coward within was shaking. What happens without your armor? He unleashed a concentrated sphere of pure annihilation. It descended like a falling star, forcing the armored traitor to scramble for safety. Blink! Yi materialized behind him, aiming to shatter the soul's anchor. A devastating punch sent the armor crashing into the earth like a meteor. A rank C is still a rank C, the armor roared. Even a rank A strike cannot breach this legendary defense. Yi flashed a predatory grin. If the shell wouldn't break, he'd destroy it from within. He lunged forward as the armor swung a frantic fist. The blow phased right through him like mist. Yi's body had become intangible shadow, allowing him to plunge his hands deep into the armor's chest. A soul-shattering scream echoed as Yi tore the essence from its metal shell. With a violent heave, the traitor was ejected, leaving the armor behind. The truth was finally revealed. The armor wasn't just protection. It was a parasite, draining shadow energy to keep the steward's rotting soul intact. The steward realized his weakness outside the shell, but he still clutched Qingtian. He took flight, desperate to escape into the heavens. Yi wasn't about to let his prey slip away. Shadow chains snared the coward, who hissed that any attack would kill Qingtian too. Souls are just energy, Yi countered coldly. And you've lost your shield. He shredded the steward's form, liberating Qingtian from the nightmare. Qingtian watched in awe as Yi devoured the fallen soul. You underestimated a human's hunger for power, he remarked to the fading spirit. Don't be so smug, the steward spat with his dying breath. Once he ascends by devouring me, you'll be the next one on the menu. No soul can resist the siren call of ultimate power. As he absorbed the essence, a primal scream tore from his throat, shattering the ground. The sheer pressure caught Qing Tian off guard. Yi had broken through to rank B. Then Yi turned his gaze toward Qing, calling his name. Yi smiled, forming a deep resonance with his companion. Claiming the armor, he finally understood what it meant to truly transcend life and death. He infused the armor into Qing Tian's essence, sealing his soul within. The legendary metal had become his companion's new, indestructible body. Qing Tian rose as a rank of powerhouse, blessed with shadow enhancement, ultimate eye, morph, jaunt domain, and the lethal shadow clone technique. Qing Tian stood stunned by his new form. Yi joked that he looked too grimy to eat anyway, and the armor was far too ugly for his taste. He stood over him, merely returning the favor. Meanwhile, on the floor above, a massive serpent coiled around Bao's terrified henchman. The man begged for mercy, but Bao simply told him to endure the pain. In a cold flash, he incinerated both the snake and his subordinate. He dismissed the man as useless trash. Bao felt a surge of surprise as he sensed Ye's power, wondering if this was truly rank B. Those weak beasts couldn't drain him, and the sight of Ye fueled Bao's rage. He lunged forward with a fist wreathed in roaring fire. But Qing Tian's mere presence sent a shockwave that blasted him away. Bao realized he faced a rank A, and his situation was dire. Dealing with Ye was hard enough, but a rank A changed everything. Ye smirked, noting that with Qing Tian here, this was now pure bullying. Qing Tian stretched, calling a fighter of Bao's level a perfect warm-up. Bao bristled, hating that he was being used like a practice dummy. He hoped that capturing Ye would give him a fighting chance. But suddenly, Ye activated his shadow domain, plunging the world into total darkness. Bao mocked the flashy tricks, claiming a rank D couldn't close the gap. Ye laughed, asking who told him that he was still rank D. Caught off guard, Bao took a crushing punch to the gut. Ye flickered behind him like a ghost. Bao's fury boiled at being looked down upon. Ye blocked a desperate fist with his own, causing a massive explosion. Bao realized Ye was now rank B, stunned by his impossible growth speed. Ye thanked him for being the perfect whetstone. Bao didn't care about his rank. He charged again, trusting in his own raw, destructive strength. Ye blocked a vicious elbow with his forearms. Qing Tian advised that inside the shadow domain, Ye didn't need to exhaust his own energy. Instead, he could command the surrounding shadows and turn the enemy's power against them. This was the true, terrifying essence of the shadow arts. Ye joked about Qing Tian's sudden serious teaching. Bao watched in horror, realizing the boy was evolving mid-battle like a true combat genius. Just die. Bao screamed, unleashing a torrent of fireballs. Ye focused his mind, attempting to seize control of the chaotic energy swirling around them. He manifested a barrier that swallowed the flames. Ye felt an addictive rush of power as he launched a concentrated blast back at his foe. Bao barely dodged the lethal beam. As Ye fired again, Bao mocked his poor aim, charging forward to close the distance for a kill. Ye countered that he hadn't missed. Bao's frantic dodging had simply lined up his face perfectly for a devastating punch to the jaw. Bao groaned in agony, baffled by what he saw. The kid was spamming skills, yet his power wasn't fading. He was only getting stronger. Is that all? Ye asked with a look of disappointment. He prepared to end the game. Bao, desperate, vowed to take the boy down too. Harnessing the shadows, Ye closed the gap in a single lethal stride. With a swift flash, he severed Bao's arm, leaving him in shock. As his limb fell, Bao collapsed in a rage. Ye pressed a blade to his head. Bao spat a final challenge, daring the boy to kill. But Ye replied that death was far too easy. At this moment, a living Bao was worth much more than a corpse for his future. Qing Tian asked why he spared him. Ye needed information on the Shihai group. Bao growled that he would choose death over becoming a traitor. Ye knew that, but mentioned Xiao Shang's terrifying interrogation methods. At that name, Bao's bravado vanished, and he began begging for his life. Bao tried a desperate threat, so Ye silenced him. He warned that if Shihai didn't come for him, he would hunt them down himself soon. Qing Tian offered to handle the Ning group's rank A, but Ye refused. He first needed to prove Ning Donghao's involvement before taking revenge. He wanted to settle his own debts. Meanwhile, under a heavy rain, the military was frantically loading a massive convoy of armored supply trucks. Soldiers were ordered to wait for General Hong. A man approached the bald city lord, asking if he had any secret intel on this. Seeing troops flooding the city lord admitted he knew nothing, but feared that something truly catastrophic was about to happen very soon. He turned to Xiao Shang, who was distracted by a phone report. His sister, Xiao Yin, had just been kidnapped by the Black Panther. She was safe and her captor dealt with, but Xiao Shang's rage was palpable. He coldly claimed he knew nothing about the military's movements. He confronted Dong Hao, warning him to leash his dogs before he intervened. Dong Hao shot back, asking exactly what he was trying to imply. He warned that if Dong Hao was involved, he would crush them both. Their murderous auras collided, shaking the air with raw, lethal intent. Dong Hao sneered that Xiao Shang was overestimating himself. Xiao Shang didn't hesitate, challenging the man to test his strength right then and there. A newcomer entered, telling them to save their energy for the real fight. A major disaster was threatening to push their city toward total ruin. This red-haired man was Hong Hai, the supreme commander of the 3rd Defense Zone, a man whose presence commanded absolute and immediate respect. They discussed the grave situation. Hong Hai's assistant noted that everyone present had ascended to rank A during the brutal war 10 years ago. They didn't need a reminder of the destruction caused by the level 2 dimension. That nightmare was etched into the history of their souls. The mystery of why the channel vanished remained, but they had never stopped monitoring the lingering radiation fluctuations in the atmosphere for a decade. 5 years ago, those fluctuations returned. Since then, the frequency and intensity of the energy spikes had been steadily rising to dangerous levels. In the last 3 months, 5 massive spikes were detected. The leaders were alarmed. These readings matched the catastrophic events from 10 years ago. The city lord finally understood the summons. General Hong confirmed it. Haicheng was about to face a second-level dimensional channel collapse very soon. Simultaneously, hordes of shadow-born creatures were already marching toward a glowing portal, ready to descend upon the human world for a slaughter. He ordered everyone to retreat immediately and brace for the coming storm. A level 2 channel meant total annihilation for High City, even with the military's urgent mobilization. He urged the trio to bury their petty grudges and stand united against the impending catastrophe. Xiao Shang agreed, provided certain rats stopped weaving their webs of deceit behind his back. His gaze pierced Dong Hao as Hong warned that any traitorous sparks would be crushed without mercy. No half measures would be taken, before signaling Xiao Shang to board his ride for a briefing. Left in the dust, the city lord noted that Hong had finally dropped his mask of civility. Xiao Shang was officially under military protection, so Dong Hao was advised to vanish for a while. Dong Hao feigned ignorance, but the city lord suggested he check the news before disaster struck. Back at the office, the screen flickered as Xihao's phone buzzed with Dong Hao's stern warning. Headlines screamed that the infamous Black Panther gang had brazenly targeted the heir of the Qin group. The rescue was a success, yet the gang's leadership had vanished into the shadows, evading the authorities. Dong Hao prayed Shihao wasn't involved, but he swore he'd never move without a direct decree. Beg for the Qin family's mercy or end your own life. Dong Hao barked, demanding total isolation. Shihao bowed in fake obedience, eyes burning with fury. Later, Yi and Qin arrived at the hospital. Qin's heart raced, but Yi offered calm reassurance before Shihao appeared. Wearing a mask of false relief, he cursed that bastard Bao for the stunt while Yi watched him like a hawk, sensing traps. Yi questioned his innocence, but Shihao claimed their bond was merely a cold, professional business arrangement. He vowed the NG group would dismantle the gang themselves, hunting down every last stray panther dog. Yi's eyes narrowed, questioning if this was genuine redemption or just discarding a pawn to survive. Stop right there, Shihao hissed, claiming the stolen loot was enough for a lifetime of luxury. Yi's voice turned to ice, declaring the loot was just interest. The principal was Shihao's very life. Shihao turned to Qin, but her cold smile told him everything, ending their useless war of words. Without concrete evidence, his elite position in the NG group made him feel completely untouchable. Pray they never find Bao, Yi countered, because I will become your worst living nightmare. Driven to the edge, he ordered researchers to pump the remaining gang members with forbidden god's blood. Inside a sterile hell, patients were bolted to steel frames as doctors plunged the needles in. Screams of identity fell on deaf ears as the serum turned their eyes into pits of madness. Veins swelled like serpents under their skin. Primal agony shattering heavy restraints as they thrashed violently. Animalistic roars filled the lab. They weren't human anymore, but monsters. Suddenly, Xiao Shang's phone rang. He grinned, envisioning tomorrow's headlines. Arrogant brat crushed by vengeful gang. The trap was set. Or, perhaps, gang goes berserk on mystery drugs. In the car, Xiao Shang questioned the general's urgency. In 1 month, a mere boy had evolved into a powerhouse capable of slaying B-rank threats, not to mention the lethal arsenal provided, as a blurring shadow raced alongside their speeding vehicle. Rivals were already closing in. Xiao Shang doubted the weapon's worth, seeing only mundane materials in reports. General Hong's eyes flashed, promising to reveal their true power once the battlefield was soaked in blood. Hong felt his edge dulling with age. Outside, Yi waited calmly, his presence like a silent mountain. Yi offered a polite greeting, though Hong was impressed the lad recognized the titan of the military. Recognizing a big shot like Yi's survival, Yi quipped, before Hong requested to be invited inside. It's a bad time, Yi warned, but Hong promised his hidden guests would be handled by professionals. Yi hesitated but led them inside as the military's secret live feed began broadcasting the coming slaughter. Sensing no other masters, Yi questioned if regular soldiers could survive against the incoming advanced-level freaks. Hong confirmed his lethal gamble. Yi maintained his poker face, though he secretly wondered if Hong was mad. Yi recognized the attackers as the Black Panthers he'd broken, baffled by their unnaturally fast recovery. Jintian sensed the dark mutation as gunfire erupted, while a lone figure lurked above for a strike. Azure lightning surged from his palm, piercing the night sky. Moments later, the military deployed their advanced drone defense net. A swarm of drones synchronized, weaving shimmering energy barriers into a massive fortification. The soldiers stood protected behind the glow. Seizing the opening, the squad unleashed a hail of gunfire at their foe. Their formation remained ironclad as they advanced. Ye observed the anti-rank S shields with curiosity. Could this devastating tech truly be forged from the weapons he provided? Xiaoan questioned General Hong about the origins of these materials. With a stern nod, the general confirmed the truth. With enough resources, we'll rewrite the world order, Hong declared. Even Ye had to admit these soldiers were truly elite. Suddenly, a window shattered in a violent explosion of glass. It seemed one assassin had managed to evade the dragnet. Hong revealed this wasn't an oversight. He had intentionally left this prey alive as a personal trial for Ye's combat skills. Ye summoned his serpent blade, cleaving through incoming jagged boulders. He realized the general was testing his hidden prowess now. Perish, a monster shrieked. A decaying zombie-like brute from the Black Panther Syndicate lunged forward with mindless, murderous bloodlust. A massive stone spear hurtled toward him. Ye winced for the villa's safety as the projectile collided with his blade. The boulder disintegrated instantly. Ye charged his foe while Hong estimated the attacker's strength was at least rank B level. He might even touch rank A, Hong mused. Xiao Shang scoffed, convinced the general was vastly overestimating the intruder's potential. Just watch, Hong challenged. He sensed that the young warrior was still holding back his true terrifying power from them. Despite the enemy's stone shield, Ye slammed him into the dirt. How did a low-level thug suddenly reach rank B? Ye questioned if drugs caused this mutation, but the lunatic only snarled. He had clearly traded his sanity for power. Boulders levitated as the monster renounced his humanity. His flesh calcified into living stone, becoming a true earthen nightmare before them. Merciful death was the only option. Ye decided to end this while masking his true depth from the watching elders. Tier 1 power sufficed to pulverize the stone. With the threat neutralized, the observers finally stepped out from the shadows. The reports didn't do you justice, Hong admitted. Seeing him in action proved they had drastically underestimated this young man's lethality. Ye knew a general wouldn't visit at midnight just for trash cleanup. There was a much deeper, more urgent purpose. Hong revealed that their new high-tech gear was actually synthesized from the legendary greatsword Ye had provided to the military. He sought more materials to mass-produce these armaments. The military's survival now depended on Ye's ability to source otherworldly resources. Time is our enemy, Hong warned. A rank 2-dimensional rift could tear open at any second, threatening their existence. Their current defenses stood no chance. Ye sensed Qingtian's simmering fury radiating through the air at this grim revelation. Hong gripped his shoulder, emphasizing that advanced equipment was their only hope to prevent a massacre of innocent civilians. Arming the troops was paramount. Ye promised to find a way to secure the necessary materials no matter the cost. Ye requested 3 days for results. In exchange, General Hong promised a reward that would change his entire social standing. A high military rank and a marriage into the prestigious Qin family were offered. He could inherit a business empire. Ye politely declined the arrangement. Nearby, Xiao Shang's blood boiled with jealousy upon hearing the general's generous marriage proposal. Ignoring the outburst, Ye refused payment. He viewed protecting Haicheng as his personal duty, not a business transaction for gold. One final offer was made, but Ye stood firm. He would carve his own path without relying on others. Retreating to his tower, Qing Tian reflected on the battle. He was certain the attackers had been tainted by God's blood. It was impossible. How had they opened a rank 2 rift so soon? Ye arrived sensing the gravity of the situation. When asked about his reaction, King Tian went silent before warning that a rank 2 portal was a death sentence. A mere rank B like you would be crushed, he spat. Stay away if you value your life, boy. Ye pressed for details on the rift's contents. Qing Tian revealed it contained swarms of rank A and rank S nightmares. Hong returned, ordering Ye to leave the Black Panther corpses to the military. This was now official government business. Xiao Shang was confused, but Hong revealed he'd uncovered the dark secrets surrounding the accident that took Ye's parents. A fine should have sufficed for the NG group. Why did they resort to brutal assassinations to silence the witnesses? These drug-addled assassins pointed to a dark conspiracy. The NG group was hiding something truly monstrous within their corporate walls. With the Dinghua faction involved, things were getting messy. Hong insisted the military handle the fallout to keep Ye safe. Hong sought to put Ye in his debt. Meanwhile, Ye asked Qingtian if his current power could actually be ascended. Completing the level 3 trial was the key. This dimension was actually a tiered prison designed to hold cosmic threats. Rank B exiles roamed the outer layer, while the middle tier traps rank S and A monsters within its walls. Deep within the inner sanctum lie the ultimate transgressors. Their power defies human logic. They are known only as warlords, gate lords, and monarchs. The Entropic clan bore a sacred burden. Stand watch over the gate, and keep those monsters imprisoned for all eternity. Ye demanded to know why these dimensional rifts first bled through. Qingtian revealed the bitter truth: they were betrayed from within. That turncoat conspired with the inner layer's monsters to spark a bloody revolt, desperate to seize the gateway and escape. With the uprising spiraling out of control, Qingtian's only gamble was to forcibly seal the rift and pray for reinforcements. Yet millions of years crawled by in silence. No help ever came, and his life force began to flicker and fade. Then, a decade ago, the outer seal finally fractured, and the dimensional channels tore through the fabric of reality. Ye questioned how the third-level trial fit this chaos. Completing it, he learned, would burn a permanent mark upon his soul. This brand is the unique crest of the Entropic clan. Once marked, every horror in the other world will hunt him forever. Ye finally grasped Qingtian's true fear. Without that soul imprint, he could simply walk away from the coming slaughter. He could sit back and watch as Haikang is reduced to a smoldering graveyard, safe and hidden in the shadows. But his resolve never wavered. He wasn't a saint, sure, but he'd be damned if he just sat there waiting for death. If fate demanded a clash, he'd rather fall charging. Qingtian smirked, amused by the cocky B-rank brat's audacity. He decided to humor the boy's arrogance. Ye teased back, claiming this serious attitude really didn't suit the old man at all. He even dared to make him repeat the insult, but Qingtian just shrugged it off like it never even happened. Thanks for watching. Check out this next GigaChat video and join the Summon Club membership to support the channel's legend. You can also show some love by smashing that like button. Stay awesome, everyone.